This generation is the most conservative generation that we have seen in well over 50 years, and the numbers show it. This is the greatest generational realignment since Woodstock. It is far more important to think about your duty and your obligation and obedience rather than how you feel. How you feel is completely irrelevant. How you act is far more important.
All right, guys, I'm gonna try to make the case for the 30-06. I know this is the one sticking point where people are like, well, if it wasn't a 30-06, then everything else that they've told us is a complete lie, because how could anything else be true if it's not a 30-06? And I understand that a 30-06 is kind of hard to believe. And what I've discovered recently is that this happens more often than we would think. Look, if we look at Martin Luther King, I'll put a couple other things on the screen here as well. But it's not like 1 in a million, it's not impossible. What I found is there's a big difference between getting hit with the round that's going straight and one that's being with an angle. And that's what we're out here to test today. We're gonna test this using 3 different methods: water bottles, bigger water bottles, and then some plates. And guys, I'm not gonna be like some of these guys on the internet who bring out like a steak, equate that to being the same as a human neck. Because guys, there's a lot of things that are wrong with that steak. First of all, it's probably been tenderized to some extent. All the fluids have been drained out of it. It's not equivalent. You can't shoot a steak and then say it's the same as bodily tissue. At that point, it's a completely different device. I'm not doing these experiments as like, I'm not trying to say plates are the same either. I am trying to demonstrate a concept, not to equate a result, if that makes sense. Anyways, let's get going. All right, guys, for this first test, we're just gonna shoot through these 2-liter water bottles straight, count how many it goes through, and then we're gonna shoot through these water bottles. There's some soda bottles as well, but they're the same. And we're gonna shoot them at a diagonal and see how many it goes through. Again, guys, this is not trying to be equating this to something. This is just a proof of concept to find out if shooting diagonally versus straight does affect bullet trajectory. All right, guys, on the straight through shot, we got 2 completely obliterated bottles. The bullet entered here, and it's got to be here somewhere. It bounced off. Anyways, guys, we got 3 bottles affected. This one barely. It's not even in the bottle, so it bounced off. I don't know if that counts or not. Anyway, guys, straight shot with the 22, 2 bottles and a half. Let's go over here and do an angle shot on these ones. All right, guys, now we're going to do this one at an angle and see if that affects how many it goes through. Guys, on the angled shot, it only went through 2 of them. It didn't even damage this one whatsoever. The bullet did bounce off of it, but did no damage at all. So we're going to say a 2 instead of a 2.5 or a 3. I mean, that one is punctured, so we just call it a 3. I'm not sure. Because we have so many of these bottles left, we're going to do another test with a higher power round. All right, guys, this is a 5.7, much more powerful round than the 22 long rifle. Let's see what happens with this on the straight through shot. All right, guys, that 5.7 put a hole in this one, completely destroyed that one, destroyed this one, put a hole in this one, traveled through, destroyed this one, and then bounced off of this one, or maybe the bullets inside of here, I'm not sure. So that is 4. Let's go test out the 5.7 at an angle. All right, guys, the 5.7 destroyed 4 of those. Straight on, let's see what it does at an angle right here. All right, guys, in this scenario, it took out 3 bottles and hit this one here and scraped off the label, but did not go through. But this, so far, guys, this is pretty conclusive that, I mean, it's not like it's half the power, but I mean, it went through 4, and only through 3, so that's like a 3/4 less power, I guess. If it's at an angle, that's a pretty significant drop. Let's do more tests. All right, guys, now we're gonna shoot paper plates with the 22, straight on. There's the bullet. So that's about, you know what, we're just going to mark this. We're not going to count them, we're just going to mark it. We're going to mark it with this right here. That's where that one went to. And the bullet's in there, so we can tell from that anyways. Now from an angle, about right there, guys. There's the bullet. Right there. So about that much shorter on the angled one than the straight one. Let's shoot this with the 5.7 and see if we get the same results. All right, guys, this is straight on. Oh, wow. Okay, straight on. That left me with 2, 4, 8 plates with no damage. There's the bullet. I'm gonna leave the bullet there. Now we're gonna shoot this at an angle, and we're just gonna go to the end and see what it looks like. Definitely shorter. All right, let's go through these. 4 holes still, 4 holes still. It looks like this might have stopped way shorter. It might be going through the same holes, guys. Let's see. That's how much more plates the straight one went through than the angled one. So that's quite a bit. All right, guys. Now we have 2 rows of water bottles. We have 18 on each row. And guess what we're going to do? Yep, 1 straight, 1 angled. See what we have so far. So far, guys, we're 2 for 2. Plates and big soda water bottles. Both angled, quite a bit less energy, guys. All right, let's try to get this as straight as possible. Holy crap. But just like 3 or 4? Guys, after getting home and watching the slow motion videos, I realized that it was actually 5 that I hit on the shot, not 4. It was 5. All right, guys, I only hit 4 that time. I'm going to go one more time just to make sure that that's actually accurate because maybe I missed the rest. Let's see. All right. So we hit 4 the first time. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 the second shot. So 4 or 5 is pretty accurate as far as straight on. I lied, it was 6. 4 and 6. All right, guys, turns out I was wrong on both of these. One I figured out afterwards, one I figured out while I was there. And it turns out it's 5 and 6 for a straight on shot. So I think it's pretty accurate to say at least 5, if not a 6, for the straight on shot of water bottles. All right, guys, now we're going to shoot at an angle and see what this does. Okay, it was 4 the first time, and then 3 the second shot. So on that one, equal on the first shot, a little bit less power on the second shot. But we're gonna try one more angled one, okay? 3 again. On that last test, we saw 4 water bottles affected from the first straight shot. We know now that it was 5. And then on the second straight shot, we saw 6 water bottles affected. On the angled shot, we saw 4 affected on the first shot. And then we did 2 follow-up shots at an angle, and we had 3 on both of those ones. All right, guys, as we watch this replay in slow motion, which is super cool and super fun, let's talk about this last test for a second. Like I said, when we got home, we analyzed this. We realized that we had miscounted some of these bottles on the smaller bottle test. And on that first straight through test, it was actually 5 to 6 instead of 4 and 6. And then on the angled shot, it was 4 and then 3 and 3. So we can say that it was 5 and 6 on the straight shot, 4, 3 and 3 on the angled shot. And guys, it's pretty clear on pretty much all of these tests. It seems like there's about around a third to a fourth less distance traveled when you do the angled shots. You know, on some of these tests, it's like the bottle, like 3 to 6 is half, but even if you use 4 to 6, that's about a third less energy. The same as the big water bottles and these paper plates as well. There was quite a bit of energy expelled quicker when you hit it at an angle versus if you hit it as a straight shot going straight through. And I think this does show something, and I think it's very interesting. And guys, I don't know if I can say conclusive, but I think it's definitely telling that some of these rounds at an angle stop a third and even up to half shorter than the straight on rounds, which tells me that these rounds are expelling twice the amount of energy on those, if it stops halfway through compared to the straight one, 3 bottles instead of 6, that tells me that it's expending twice as much energy in half the distance, if that makes sense. And some of the other ones, at least a third. Okay, it's going a third less distance and every single test, a third to half. So I don't know if I can say conclusive, but it definitely means that it has an effect. All right, guys, what can we tell from these tests? Like I said, guys, this is not meant to be a comparison. I'm not trying to say that these water bottles are exactly like a human body or that these plates are like a human body, like a lot of these YouTubers are. I'm just doing a practical test so you can correlate and see the effect of angled shots versus straight on shots. And what we see is that 3 out of 3 times, whether it's the big 2-liter soda bottles or whether it's the plates, guys, some of those plates, some of those straight on shots went through like, 2.5 inches, maybe even 3 inches more plates than the angled shots. That's a lot more power being dispersed in a shorter area and not going as farther if it's angled. This concept is true as a concept. I'm not sure if it applies exactly the same in the human body or something like this, but as a concept, it does prove to be correct because 3 out of 3 times. We saw that with the 2-liter bottles, the plates, and then with the smaller water bottles, we did see that from 3 to 4 was the angled shot, and then from 4, we know now that it was 5 to 6 was the effect of the straight on shot. So still we can see that the straight on shot carried more velocity farther, and that an angled shot, all of these either tumbled and stopped sooner, or they dispersed their energy sooner and didn't go as far as the straight on shot, guys. And I think these experiments have proven that proof of concept is accurate, is true, and is that maybe what we're seeing? Because, guys, all these hunters saying that they've shot a deer straight on, they're not used to shooting a deer from up high. Some of these deer hunters that are up in blinds, I've actually gone on some forums, and I'll show you guys that here in a second. And some of these hunters on some of these forums are having debates on whether they prefer if the round exits or stays in. So this implies that they do stay in sometimes, and these hunters in blinds probably have more experience with that. And the reason is this concept of the angled shot versus straight on. I think it's very interesting. Is it for sure what causes us to stay in? I don't know, but it is probably a factor. Guys, as I looked at more and more forums, I realized it wasn't just people from blinds, it was almost everyone. Almost every deer hunter has had this happen where the round stays in the body. It might happen more from blinds, but it happens to everybody. So I just went with forums that were just average, normal hunting forums to find evidence of this happening. But first, before we begin, guys, I want to kind of explain to you why some hunters might never have this ever happen. Some might have the round go through every single time, and I want to explain to you guys why that is most of the time. Okay. I'm not sure if you ever hunted before. I've actually never hunted before. I have a lot of friends that hunt, and I shoot a lot, and I do a lot of precision shooting, stuff like this, but I have never really hunted before. However, everyone knows, or not everyone, but most people know when you hunt, you're trying to hit, from what I understand, a vital organ to hit, preferably the heart. It's like an instant drop most of the time, right? Or at least the lungs, okay? If you hit the lungs or the heart, you might hit the lungs and the deer might wander off a little bit and you might have to track it a little bit. And you are going to be trying to track this and finding it eventually, but your goal is to hit the heart or the lungs if possible. Now, if you look at this diagram, if you aim at the heart or the lungs, what do you see? What you're going to notice is that all you have is thin ribs that are surrounding those, protecting those, okay? So if you're standing to the side of the deer anywhere and you are aiming right here, or you're aiming right here, that round is going to pass straight through, and it may or may not hit one of these small, thin ribs. Okay, a lot of these ribs are actually made of cartilage, not even just hard bone. Okay, and if you are a good aim and you are a good shot, right? So if you're talking to a hunter who has an excellent aim and is a good shot and is aiming here or here, and not aiming here, and not aiming here, and not aiming down here, and not aiming here, and not aiming, down here somewhere, if they're a good shot, they're going to hit here. And so if you go ask them, how many times have you hit a deer and the round passed straight through? Because they're such a good shot and they're hitting what they're supposed to be hitting, it's going to pass right through most of the time or a lot of the times. Okay. And guys, I just wanted to compare this really quickly to the anatomy of a human. If you look at the anatomy of a human, and guys, rounds get caught in humans seems like way more than deer even. Okay. Humans are bigger than deer. They're thicker than deer. Their bones are bigger than deer. And when, as we're going to see later, when a bone is hit by a round, it is like very common for the round to get stuck. Guys, this isn't some 1 in a 5 bazillion thing. Just stick through this. This is a crazy, amazing information we're going to come through in this video, which I hope changes your mind, because there's still going to be some people who are going to put their fingers in their ears and be like, I saw a bunch of people on YouTube shooting stakes that disproves this. But guys, in reality, in real life, there's actual data from hospitals, from the military, from like all kinds of databases that show this actually happening. Crime labs all over the place, everything, hospitals. So if it's actually happening, you can't discount that. And guys, I'm a conspiracy theorist just as much as everyone else, but I'm not going to be such a conspiracy theorist that I'm going to believe that for the last 100 years or so, that every single hospital knew this was going to happen in the year 2025. And so for the last 100 or so years, they've been keeping data and making up data where this is happening, just so that 100 years from the future, they could come out and be like, see, it does happen. Like, there's no way the government way back then was planning for this event. Charlie Kirk didn't even exist back then. There's no way that they're, creating these records just so that they can have it on record to prove them wrong 2025. And there's no way the government has gone back for 100 years and changed every single hospital record, every single autopsy report, all these records of this happening, all these crime lab reports and everything. There's no way that they went back over the last 100 years, changed all of them just so that they could say that it's happened before. I don't believe that, right? Anyways, let's compare this real quick to a human anatomy compared to a deer anatomy. And what you're going to see is, whereas deer are leaning forward, and what you're going to see is, while the deer is standing up, it's a side profile. The side profile has the lungs and the heart right here. Okay. Whereas if you're confronting someone from the front, I guess it's similar to the deer, where if you shot this way, all you have is the ribs in the front and the heart and the lungs and everything, right? But how many times have you been in a confrontation where someone is like, where you're fighting each other side to side or whatnot? And guys, most confrontations are going to happen from the front. And what do we see from the front of the human body? We see large bones. We see the neck bones. We have the ribs, we have the sternum, we have clavicles, we have a lot of bones. We have, this area especially has huge bones, hard bones, because the spine is also super hard. It supports your whole body. It's flexible. It's meant to move around a little bit, but it's also super, super strong, guys. And what do we see? What do we see from this angle from the front? No matter where something was going to come from, it's going to hit something. It's going to possibly hit a bone. The only exception is kind of in this area right here. Okay. But look at the neck, the proportion of the spine to the neck. It's almost impossible to hit the neck without hitting a bone. Okay. Same down here. It's almost impossible to hit this area without hitting a bone. Even this area, guys, it might pass through the ribs because it's a little bit wider, but you still have shoulder blades. You still have the spine back there. It's highly likely you're going to hit a bone. And that's why when we see these records later, it happens thousands and thousands of times where a bone deflects a bullet and when it hits, no matter which bone it is. Okay. Whether it's up here, whether it's down here, whether it's these ones, bones deflect bullets. And guys, if it hits a bone, there's like a 30% chance just from that hitting a bone that it stays in the body and doesn't exit. It deflects and ends up somewhere else. And that's even more amplified if it's at an angle. We're going to get to that in a second. Let's move back to the deer for a second. Now, on the other hand, if you are in a blind, you might be hitting the scapula a lot more, or maybe even the spine, even if you're aiming for the heart or the lungs, because you're aiming at a downward angle, and there's some things up above this that are protecting them. Okay. Also, the rib bones are a little bit more thick on the top because that's the source of the rib, right? Comes off the spine. It's going to be a little bit thicker up there than down here. Maybe have a little bit less cartilage. The cartilage is going to be more on the bottom section where they connect, kind of a thing, right? But many hunters, even from the side, are aiming for this area here, and the deer gets spooked, maybe it runs, and you end up hitting the scapula instead. Or maybe you're shooting from the front a little bit, and you hit the scapula or a femur instead. These shots, when you hit one of these bones, are not going to go through and out nearly as much as if you hit the soft tissue where it just passes straight through. So the difference is if you hit one of these bones versus if you're hitting the soft tissue like you're supposed to. And that's why if you talk to a bunch of hunters, maybe a lot of them who are great aims have never seen it happen. But we're going to show you guys here in a second. It has happened plenty of times, thousands of times, where it stays in the body. Same with the human. All right, guys, I think that was an amazing experiment. I think it definitely shows and it definitely collaborates that at an angle, rounds are going to expel more energy faster, stopping within the subject more likely than going straight through. If you go on Google, you can find more information on Google. There's a lot of information on there. This just happens to explain much quicker and much simpler why. And here we go. I'm going to try to keep this section short. It's going to be hopefully short, but guys, this is one of the most important things because this is something people can't wrap their minds around. And they've been told that 1 billion hunters have said it's like a 1 in a 5 bazillion chance of happening. And that is not the truth, guys. This happens a ton. And we're going to look at that right now in this section. The neck. Estimated exit rates for 30-6. If it's a straight round, the exit rate is 60 to 80%. So if we reverse this, we can say that there's a 20 to 40% chance that it stays in the body. That is not 1 in a million. That is not 1 in 5 bazillion. That is not 1 in 1,000. That is not 1 in 20. That is not 1 in 10. That is 2 to 4 out of 10 times it will stay in the body, in the neck, if it's a straight on hit. Okay. Moderate angle, 45 to 65% exit. So that means there's a 45 to 55% chance of an exit. So that means that there's a 35 to 45% chance of it retaining in the body if it's at a moderate angle. And I think that's what we have. So we're not going to go down here, even though it's even further, at 50 to 70. I think we're looking at a moderate angle. So not 1 in 5 billion, almost 1 in 2. Guys, I would also like to point out that there's a special note on the bottom called vertebral hits. If the round contacts the vertebrae, posterior neck, the exit probability can drop dramatically, often over 30%, because bone breaks, fragments the round, and absorbs energy. This means, guys, and that's what they're saying, that's what the report is that it did hit the bone. So that means we can add 30% to that 35 to 55. So guys, what we're really looking at is more of like a 70 to 85% chance that it stayed within the body. That's not 1 in a million. That's almost most of the time if it hits the bone. All right, done. We don't have to talk about it anymore. Anyways, guys, no, we're going to keep going. Okay. This right here, if you want to pause it and read that, I don't want to read this whole thing because I'm trying to keep this short. But if you want to pause that and see some of their reasoning, there's a doctor, a surgeon that Gary had on Paramount Tactical that talks about his theory, and it has to do with this angle thing. He has a kind of a graphic that he shows the bullet hitting, and because of the gravity and because there's tissue on the pressure on the top, that it tumbles quicker, and that's probably why it stops and then it hits the skin, and the skin is a little bit elasticy and tough, and that's the last thing it hits sideways instead of pointing, not being able to pierce through. And I think that's pretty accurate according to our experiment. People are making fun out of him and really pestering him, but I think he's pretty much straight on. All right, now we're going to look at deer forums. We're going to look at 3 different deer forums. The reason we're going to look at deer forums is because right after this happened, 5 bazillion people came out and said, I've talked to like 100 deer hunters and they said this could never happen. When you hit a deer with a 30-06, the deer vaporizes. You have to use something smaller than this on a deer, or even the deer gets vaporized. Or if I do use a 30-06 on the deer, it blows out the back and the whole entire deer meat is wasted. Like, guys, this is crazy. 30-06 is one of the most common deer hunting rounds. And so, guys, these people saying that are just, I don't know. Either the hunters are talking to you have never hunted a deer, or they are just making stuff up to prove their point. I'm not sure which. Anyways, guys, that's the reason we're going to talk about deer, because we're going to prove that not only does this happen with deer a lot, but deer also have exit rates and also retention rates. And guys, this is from Reddit, and on here they're debating whether or not they prefer an exit or if they prefer it retaining in the body. If this never happened ever, they would not even be debating this, right? There wouldn't be hundreds or thousands of people online debating which one they prefer if this never happened, correct? Okay, this guy says, I shoot 30-06 and I've had deer with exits and without. Okay, so this guy must be very lucky. He must win the lottery all the time because he's the 1 in 5 bazillion that has exits and without exits. All right, let's go to the next one. All right, guys, this is from longrangehunting.com, and this is a forum where they're talking about exits and not exits. And this guy right here says, the majority of the 60-plus whitetail that I hit fell to the Game Kings and ballistic tips. I would say that about 80% of these rounds also left exit holes. What does this mean, guys? It means that 20% of these 60 whitetail that he hit, it stayed in the body. 20% of those. That is not crazy, right? 1/5 of every single one of these deer that he hit, it stayed inside of the body. So what you're meaning to tell me is this guy's the luckiest person on earth because other people have never seen it ever happen. It's a 1 in 5 bazillion chance, yet 20% of his hits stay in the body. All right, guys, I'm also going to use words like hit and round in this, not instead of trying to use other words just because of YouTube. All right, guys, this is from Sporting Classics Daily. This is an article called Should the Round Pass Through a Deer? So why do they even ask this question if it never happens, guys? Why is this a question even? It doesn't make sense if it doesn't happen. Anyways, we're going to scroll down to here. There's a story, and there was a deer stopped at 150 yards. He took the shot basically with his 300 Win Mag. Guys, the 300 Win Mag has like 1,000 to 1,200 pounds more foot per pound's power than a 30-06. So the fact that this can do this tells you something, right? The buck took 5 steps and dropped. Later, they found a perfectly mushroomed bullet just under the opposite side skin. Okay, guys, he says that it passed through bone, ribs, and then found under the skin. This collaborates what I'm just saying about what the surgeon said earlier, because it stops under the skin. It doesn't hit the rib and get stuck in the rib. It doesn't, and it passed through 2 ribs apparently, and it stops under the skin, meaning it pretty much hit the bone, deflects, tumbles, and then it hits the skin and stops in the skin. And guys, from these forensics things we're going to look at here in a second, that seems to be what most of the time happens. Okay. All right, guys, here's a picture, and guess what this picture's of? Most of you out there are like, oh, that's a 9mm, that's a 45, that's a 40, that's a 223, that's a... No, guys, these are all 30-06s. Okay? When someone says a 30-06 round, you can't just think, oh, a 30-06 looks like this and only this, and this is what all 30-06 rounds look like. This is a 30-06 round. This is a 30-06 round. This is a 30. These are all 30-06 rounds. Okay, they're diverse. There's a lot of them, and that's why when people are talking about this, well, my grandpa says that he shot 5,000 deer. Well, maybe he uses a certain round that has a lot more weight or has a lot more power, and that one, for some reason, is just great at passing through, and he's never had an experience where he's shot maybe this one, and this one maybe is a lot more likely to stay in the body, right? Who knows? I'm just saying you can't take one person's word and then broadcast it as the truth about every single situation. And guys, like we can see from here, there's rounds that are 100 grains all the way up to 200 grains. And because this round's been around for like 100 years or if not more. And actually, I think it's been around for a lot more than 100 years at this point. And so there's a lot of varieties of it and different reasons and different uses for it. Anyways, let's go on to some of these stories. Some of these are still about hunting because a lot of these have to do with actual people. And guys, I'm going to paraphrase most of these. I don't want to take too much time. If you want to pause it and look at it yourself, go ahead. But these are interesting stories. This guy hit a deer with a bullet that usually has less than 10 inches of penetration, got all 4 rounds stuck in the body, recovered them later. Crazy. This guy says that he's had the same round do massive cavitation as well as just pencil-sized cavitation. I am going to read most of this because this one's actually really interesting. He basically is in a parking lot. Some people try to rob him, and he basically loads the rifle, points it at one of them, hoping they'll back off. Then he says he grabbed the rifle, and it went off, striking one of them in the neck. That round didn't exit his neck, and that was at a distance of about 10 feet. He's had nightmares and PTSD ever since, blah, 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 blah. Guys, you can search this online and find the story. But guys, 10 feet, no exit wound. And guys, it kind of talks about a case where an x-ray has the bullet hitting, coming inside, and then ricocheting and bouncing right back out the same exit wound as the entrance wound. Crazy. This guy says that he was involved with the cooling of more than 5,000 animals over 50 years, mostly with a 30-06 and later with a 300 Win Mag. Like they said, that's the one that's way more powerful than the 30-06. And he says that he saw some shots that could have not be explained, hundreds of bullets out of the skin. And yeah, guys, out of 5,000 animals, he's took hundreds of bullets from underneath the skin. Not from underneath the rib cage, not from underneath the pelvis. I mean, that happens too, right? But he's saying that out from under the skin, meaning it's hitting something, it's bouncing and deflecting, and then it's ending up under the skin. And the skin is the elastic thing that's stopping it because it's hitting it sideways or whatnot. And it's not piercing through because it's not sharp anymore. This guy says that he was a soldier for 23 years, hit in Afghanistan with the equivalent of a 30-06, a 7.62 millimeters, went in his side, destroyed his kidney, and then they found it in his pelvis. So guys, that did not just go straight through him. It deflected and went down, and it found it in his pelvis. So these things do deflect when they hit bone. All right, guys, now we're going to look at some forensics and medical case studies. And in this case, we're going to look at Martin Luther King. And guys, there's might be some conspiracy around this one too. So some people are going to be like, oh, I can't believe that one. And guys, even with the Martin Luther King conspiracies, none of those conspiracies that were around there were ever about the 30-06. It was about a lot of other things, like who did it and stuff like that. Not that it was a 30-06. Not until Charlie Kirk got hit did anything really pop up on the internet about Martin Luther King's not being a 30-06. Because the thing is if it was a 30-06 in Martin Luther King's case, now all of a sudden it puts a hole in the narrative that it wasn't a 30-06 in the Charlie Kirk case. So now people are going back like 50 years or whatever and trying to discredit that one, even though back then it was widely accepted and widely proven that it was a 30-06. Don't worry, we have more examples. In this case, the bullet entered the right side of the face, passed through the lower part of the face and the neck, then lodged in the upper thoracic area. No exit was found. Okay, the round fired from 30-06 entered the face, blah, blah, blah. Same exact story, right? We know that it hit the jaw and the vertebrae and came to rest without exiting the body. So, guys, this all shows to deflection. This guy says that he was also in the military. A guy got hit in the neck with the 7.62, and it came out of his hip on the same side. Explain how that happens without being able to ricochet. You guys don't know how good this guy's ammo was. It was just not that simple. They're talking about the Charlie Kirk incident. But, I mean, this one did exit the body. But what he's saying is this guy got hit in the neck, and it came out the hip. Like, it went inside the neck, way up top, and then somehow went all the way down and then out the hip. So this does happen, guys. All right, guys, these are from books and case studies that are actually documenting actual people who've been hit and their findings from the studies of these events and these incidents, okay? Guys, I would like to point out real quick, I'm going to go through some of these and kind of show you some quotations from these books and from these studies and from these journals and from these autopsy reports and different things. However, I want to point out, each of these sources that I'm showing you has hundreds, if not thousands, of other cases and studies inside of these books. I'm going to put all the links down in the description where I can show you. I thought about putting photos and different things up on the screen showing you during this video. But guys, they're just so graphic, and I don't know if that would be a good thing for people to see. And if you don't want to see that, and I don't know what the rules are on posting those. So if you want to see those, go to the links in the description. You can see actual photos of deflected rounds that have hit the spine and gotten stuck in the body. Okay, not just 30-06, but rounds that are even far more powerful. We're going to show you some right here, but there's much, much more. Hundreds and thousands of more in these books. Go look at them. This one right here is from De Mayo, 3rd edition. Guys, this is probably one of the best known textbooks on these kinds of wounds. Page 52, 3rd edition. High velocity rifle rounds, including the 30-06, may fragment on striking bone. In such cases, the bullet may not exit the body. Deflection by bone can also result in an unpredictable wound track. Unpredictable, meaning, guys, these people are going out and shooting a pig, and they're saying, well, every time I shoot this pig, it should be exactly the same as if it hit someone's neck. Deflection by bone can also result in an unpredictable wound track. Because this means that if you took a pig out there and you shoot their bone 1,000 times, it's never, ever, ever going to deflect in the same exact direction, ever. This is not duplicatable. It's not replicatable. It's just how it is, okay? Okay, Forensic Science International case report on bullet deflection. Bullet deflection in the human body, an underestimated phenomenon. Quote, even high-powered rifle bullets may fail to exit if they strike dense bone. Deflection and fragmentation of the projectile or secondary bone fragments can prevent an exit wound. Okay, it's not saying that it's going to go through the spine and then travel 5 more feet and then deflect. It's saying that if it strikes dense bone, then it's going to deflect. Not 5 feet later, not 5 inches later, it's going to deflect if it hits that bone. American Journal of Forensic Medicine and Pathology. In several cases involving high-powered rifle rounds, bullets failed to exit the body after striking the scapula or pelvis, fragmenting and creating multiple secondary wound tracks. Okay, we're just going to keep going really quick, just reading these quickly. A 30-06 Springfield bullet fragmented on striking the humerus with no exit wound. The wound path was markedly altered due to deflected by due to deflection by bone. Despite the high energy 30.6 cartridge, several cases demonstrated no exit wound when bullet struck dense bone, fragmenting and depositing all energy without the body. Spitz and Fisher, medical investigations of documents cases where rifle rounds striking the clavicle or ribs deflected 20 to 90 degrees, guys. And because there's hundreds and hundreds of these, you can see right here that we're only like part way down this whole entire thing. You could go all the way down here and read hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of more studies and reports that show that deflection is possible. And according to what happened with Charlie Kirk, that is what we have been told. And it's not out of the question ridiculous. All right, guys, if we look at Chuck Rader, this guy was in Afghanistan and he was hit in the side. Basically, it hit his spine and then deflected 90 degrees. And if you watch this video, you can see his helmet camera as well as other camera of him during this incident. We're not going to play it on here because it takes too long, and also, I don't like to do that unless we're going to do a whole review of it, journalistically or whatever. But you can come to his channel. I'll put the link in the description down below where you can see this. All right, guys, at this point, I've covered, I think, enough information to pretty much prove and show that this does happen. We've shown people on hunting forums debating whether you want an exit or if you don't want an exit. We've covered stories of people being hit, whether it was in the neck or other places, and the bullet not exiting. We've covered so much information. You can go to that website for yourself and go through thousands and thousands of studies, thousands of stories, thousands of testimonials, and see for yourself that this is not 1 in a 5 bazillion chance your hunter friend is not telling you the truth. I don't know if he's necessarily lying to you either. He's probably just telling you off his own experience, and he's probably only using the only round that he's ever known. And he probably is a great shot. He's sitting in the same location every single time with that same ammo. And, while every single trajectory is not going to be guaranteed, right? Every single round when it hits is going to do something different, like we've already talked about. There's certain rounds that are just way more powerful. And if you're hitting in a certain spot every single time, you're less likely to see any deviation, even though there's deviation always, right? But we don't know what round was used. We don't know what type, and we don't know which one. So it's hard to say, and we don't know exactly where it hit. And guys, in the neck, you're for sure going to probably most likely hit a bone because you have the spine back there. And you also have the collarbone right below, basically where he was hit as well. You have a lot going on. You have shoulder blades back behind. You have a bunch of different things where it could possibly hit in that location, okay? If he was hit right above the hip bones where all you have is the spine, the ribs are a little bit higher, I'd say, okay, well, what's the chance of hitting a bone when you hit there? Probably about a third of the time, maybe a fourth of the time, maybe even less, right? Depending on how big the person is and how big their spine is. But in the neck is almost made up entirely of the spine, right? Like you're not going to hit through the neck and not hit a bone. And we know from that up to 20 to 90% deflection. And even if not that high of a percentage, we saw all the other information, all the other studies showing deflection when hitting bone. And guys, this is part of the problem I have with all these experiments that are being done, where they're being related as this is completely relevant to a human neck. I wish that people would state their experiments a little bit differently so that, they weren't trying to be so literal, because like I said, in my water bottle experiment, I literally tell you this is just meant as a proof of concept, not as a literal representation of a neck. I really appreciate these guys going out and doing these experiments, because maybe we're going to learn some stuff from them. Maybe it is useful information. Okay, guys, and why is this relevant? Those fluids are huge in stopping any kind of shot. If you look at these slow motion camera shots, they're shooting through water, and guys, some of these rounds are only going through 4 or 5 inches before they're completely tumbling out of everywhere. And that's just water. It's not hitting the spine and all this stuff, okay? And so that water is massively important. If I went out in my video earlier that you just saw, if I went out and I shot a bunch of water bottles empty of water, instead of going through 3 or 4 of those water bottles or 2 or 3 of them, I could probably shoot 400 feet through a whole row of water bottles emptied of the water. That water is incredibly important. Shooting a steak that's also been meat tenderized, so it's easier to chew through, and you don't think that's going to be easy to shoot through? It's been drained of all the fluids. It's been meat tenderized, so you can chew through it better, probably. What I wish would happen, though, is I wish that they would go out there and maybe get 2 of these water bottles or 3 of these water bottles. I don't know how many. 1, even just 1, right? Maybe 1 is enough. I don't know. But I think 2 would be fair. And go put that water bottle in front of the piece of meat you're about to hit, and then see what happens. Does it still go through? Is that water bottle enough to tumble around enough, and then it hits the meat and it stops in there? Or does it still go blasting through everything? And how many water bottles would you need? If you need like 5 or 6 for it to stop happening, okay, well, maybe you're onto something. But even then, here's my problem, okay? Even then, my problem is we have thousands and thousands and hundreds of stories from firsthand accounts of people being hit, it hitting a bone. It doesn't matter what bone that is, and it deflecting and going down and shooting out the hip, or hitting the bone and deflecting and being found somewhere else in the body hundreds or thousands of times. So it's like, to me, no matter how many experiments are done, when you have the actual real world data, how do you discount that? Like, that's the question I have. You either have to think that all of these datas are made up and faked, or you have to accept that you're missing something in these experiments that's there in real life that's causing these things to happen thousands and thousands of times in real life. And I just can't discount these real stories and say, they don't exist, and just block them out of my mind, because they do exist. It would be like saying someone sees a bear, and 100 people who've never seen a bear before go out into the forest and they can't find the bear. They're walking around for 5, 10 hours, 15 hours. They can't find the bear. They don't ever find any bear bones, nothing. And they're like, nope, we didn't see the bear. We didn't find the bear. We couldn't even find any bear bones. Therefore, bears don't exist. Yet, there's scientists all over the world who have photos of the bears, have videos of the bears, and they even have bears in zoos. Yet, because 10 people go out and film a YouTube video looking for bears and they can't find them, and doing experiments trying to bait them, but the bear never comes, and that could be for several different reasons. Maybe you're in the wrong area. Maybe there's not even any bears there. Maybe you're looking for bear bones, but maybe you're looking for bear carcasses, but you don't realize that the coyotes and the wolves and the whatever else have already come and pillaged them and dragged the bones around, scattered them, eaten all the meat and scattered all the bones. I don't know. The problem is, guys, when you have real world evidence like this, I can't just overlook that and say, well, none of that ever happened. I'm just going to ignore it and only focus on these experiments. Okay? A lot of times experiments are to prove things that we don't know if it's possible or not. But when we actually know that thing exists, experiments aren't really necessary. I mean, they're helpful sometimes, I guess, but in cases where we actually know this happens, doing an experiment does not disprove all of these things that have historically happened hundreds or thousands of times to both humans and animals. Just to kind of give you an analogy, let's just say that a dentist comes out and he says, this person got 5 cavities, they drink a lot of soda, and I suspect that is the culprit. Now, let's just say that we get a bunch of YouTubers going out and buying like 50 sodas, and they guzzle the sodas. A couple of them leave it in their mouth for 10, 15 minutes. A couple of them maybe even leave it in their mouth the whole entire day. I don't know, right? And then the next day they go to their dentist and they say, do I have any cavities? And the dentist is like, nope, no cavities. And then they go post all these YouTube things all over YouTube, and other YouTubers see it and other podcasters see it. And pretty soon there's like 10,000 articles and 10,000 videos out there stating that sugar does not cause cavities. And then they're accusing, all these other people of causing the cavities instead of the sugar. When in reality, there's hundreds and hundreds of studies and cases of that being recorded in the past as being what causes cavities. One of the reasons that cavities can get caused, right? But they're also missing the actual main factors of what caused the cavities, which is the timing, how long it takes. It could take, months and months and months for these cavities to develop because of the soda, not just because of the soda. Maybe it's a soda that has way more sugar in it. Maybe it's one that's way more acidic that they're using that they didn't know. Like all kinds of different factors that they're not putting in these experiments that they really would need to actually have it be relevant. Okay? And I think that's similar to going out and shooting a steak that doesn't have fluids in it. And guys, these fluids that are missing are way thicker than just water or soda. Okay? Like the viscosity of these fluids is way thicker. Like maybe go stick a bottle of corn syrup in front of the steak. Maybe, like I said earlier, guys, maybe instead of soda or water, maybe go put some corn syrup or 2 bottles of corn syrup in front of the steak instead, because that would probably be much more accurate than just the soda bottles. And guys, I really do appreciate these people doing these experiments. I sound skeptical and I get a little bit sarcastic sometimes, but I really do appreciate them doing these experiments. I just wish that they would be like upfront about how it's not an actual like representation of exactly what would have happened. Okay. And guys, I would actually go do this experiment. I just don't have like all the money in the world to go do this. If I did, I would totally do it. If you guys want to donate me, I don't know how much this would cost. I would totally go get some corn syrup or some like dulce de leche or maybe some caramel, and mix it with water. Try to make it the same viscosity and thickness as that fluid would actually be. And I would totally go do this. Maybe one of you guys who disagrees with me can go do this, who has the funds to do it, because I don't. But that would be amazing and awesome, and I would love to do like a collaboration with you guys even. That would be awesome. And guys, if you want to do a collaboration on anything in this video, about this video, I'm totally down to talk to anyone. So yeah. All right, guys, we got to cover one more thing about this incident. A lot of people are saying, well, there's no way you could stick that down your pants and walk at all. Well, we're just going to cover this because I think it's kind of a ridiculous claim. I think it's very, very ridiculous to claim this. All right, guys, this is Kester again. He's done a lot of work on this, and he's an awesome, awesome dude. Whether he's doing the audio forensics or whether he's doing this. And guys, what he's showing here is if you put the rifle down your pants like this, and then you put the barrel down this side, on here he still has the scope attached. Guys, I'm fairly certain that when he went to campus that first time with that backpack, I'm fairly certain that he actually put the scope in that backpack. Maybe some more supplies to make it easier to get there the second time. That way it was even skinnier than what we're seeing here. I don't know. That's just speculation. I could be wrong. And if I find out for sure, I'll tell you I'm wrong. Because what we're going to see is what this would look like if you were to walk up some stairs. Because what we're seeing is people are saying this is impossible. Because if you look at this compared to this, this looks exactly the same. Okay. All right, guys. Now we're going to look at, is it possible to walk upstairs like this? Does it look comfortable or easy? No. Does it look impossible? No. You can definitely lift your leg up high enough to get up those stairs with that in your pants. Anyways, guys, I think we can move on from this. All right, guys, we're going to take a look at this roof video one more time, because people are saying as proof that there's no rifle here. And when I was about to show you that there's for sure a rifle here, or there's something here. And we know this is not AI anymore. We've covered that now. Guys, what is that? Did you see that? What is that? What is that, guys? That looks like, to me, it actually looks like it's almost out of the towel, but it looks like a buttstock to me. But even if that's still wrapped in a towel, what is that thing? You know, did he find a sandwich on the way out of here? That's like a Subway footlong. He's running across the roof and he sees like a bundle of flowers and he picks it up and he just has to jump off the roof with it. Was he running across the roof and he saw a pile of money and he wraps it up in a towel and just has to take it with him? Guys, this is a long stick-like looking thing. You can't tell exactly what it is. It's kind of like the broomstick that I show you in my video about the dynamic range. It's just hard to tell what it is, but guys, you can clearly see there's something very long, very rigid, very stiff right here. And you can see you can see how long that is, guys. Look how long that is. Okay? And then he jumps off the roof with it. You can see him with it right there. And then, guys, he's kind of walking along with it. He's kind of running with it. And then he kind of, I think he realizes there's other people around. And so he kind of starts to put it next to his leg and use his leg to kind of, because you can clearly see. Like, what is that? What is that? That's something. So now he kind of puts it next to his leg and he's kind of walking with it next to his leg, trying to hide it from people. Guys, you would not believe how oblivious people are to the world around them. Go to the mall, go to Walmart. Next time you're anywhere, just pay attention, guys. Nobody pays attention to anything around them. Everyone is just so caught up in their own world. 99% of the times they're just looking at their phone and not even paying attention to the world around them. People are saying, oh, this is impossible. How could you walk through there in broad daylight? Guys, this is not something crazy. This is not something insane. People do not pay attention to the world around them. It would be very easy for no one to even notice what's going on, you know. And guys, the decibels, like we've seen earlier, the decibels from that shot from far away aren't that loud. People over here probably, they might have heard it, but it probably sounded like a garbage can getting dropped by a garbage truck or something like that from over here. Okay, first of all, they're about the same distance away that we hear it at the event-ish, but the shockwave is going this direction. You're going to hear some bounced around noise over here, but you're not going to hear it as the same as if it was over here. All right, guys, I'm going to make my final case for the 30.6 real quick, because I think this is one of those things where it's been used as kind of a clinch pin for every other conspiracy that's out there, right? So people will say things like, well, if it wasn't a 30.6, then it has to be Israel. If it wasn't a 30.6, then it has to be the Chinese. If it wasn't the 30.6, it has to be the French Legion. If it wasn't the 30.6, then that's evidence that it was TPUSA. If it wasn't a 30.6, then that's evidence that it was the aliens from Timpanogos. If it wasn't a 30.6, then that's evidence that it was the Republican Party. If it wasn't a 30.6, then that proves that it was this person, this person, this person, this person, this person, this person, this person. First of all, guys, this isn't like a this or that kind of a thing. It's not like you're saying, well, if this one's better, then it has to be this one, or if it's this one, it's better than this one, right? Like, I can understand that. If you were saying, hey, what's better, this soda or this soda? And you tasted one and you said, well, this one isn't very good, therefore it has to be this one. Okay, that's a relatable situation. But like, this could have been anybody. But the truth is we have evidence that it points to one person. And that is, there's fingerprints there and there's DNA there and all this other stuff. It's not like, they're not saying, well, it wasn't a 9mm, therefore it's proof that it was Tyler Robinson. Like, that's what people are saying, though. They're saying that the fact that it's not a 30.6 means it has to be something else, okay? That is ridiculous. It's not true, and it's not proof of anything, okay? Even if you could prove that it wasn't a 30.6, it wouldn't be proof that Israel or French Legion or Erica Kirk or TPUSA or the Republicans or aliens, or it wouldn't be proof of any of that. It would just be proof that it wasn't a 30.6. And then they'd have to go gather actual evidence, not motives. They'd have to go gather actual evidence to find out what the truth was. They'd have to find some of their gun somewhere. They'd have to go find some of their device somewhere to prove that that's what did it, and find out whose fingerprints and whose DNA was on that thing to find out who actually did it if it wasn't the 30.6. If a prosecutor said, I have enough to prosecute Israel for this, I have enough evidence that they did this, and they took it to court, and the judge is sitting there, and the defense is sitting there, and the prosecutor is sitting there, and the judge says, okay, prosecution, make your opening statement and present all of your evidence that Israel did it. And that prosecutor stood up and said, Your Honor, my evidence that Israel did this is that it wasn't a 30.6. The judge would immediately laugh hysterically and dismiss the case, and it would just be over. Okay, that's what's going on here. And guys, the reason this is important is because that's been used as a clinch pin. It's been used as the ultimate. Well, nothing they're telling us is true because they said it was a 30.6, and if it's not a 30.6, that means nothing's true, and that proves that all these other theories are correct. And which one does it prove correct? Does it prove that it was France? Does it prove that it was Israel? Because it can't be both of them. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, and guys, and that's why it's important to kind of cover this in detail, thoroughly, to show not only is it possible, but I think it's highly likely. Okay, and what we have seen in this video, what have we seen? We've seen hundreds of hunters talking about not only does it happen, but how often it happens. One guy had it happen 20% in all of his shots. That doesn't sound like a 1 in a bazillion. That doesn't sound like 1 in a 5 million. That doesn't sound like it's impossible. It sounds like it happens in 20% of every single deer that he has hit. It doesn't make any sense to say, well, I know a hunter and he says it could never happen ever in the history of ever. Like, really? Like, that's just bizarre. Okay, so we know it happens. We know that people are even debating on it if it happens. We have these people in these forums, some of them that I've showed you going all the way back to 2005. As I promised you, I didn't make up these forums and go doctor everything and make up forums and make up hundreds of people talking about it. Go on the internet, look it up for yourself. I don't have power over that. I did not make up all these forums and people talking about it. It's true. It's there. Go to these forums, do your own research and find out these people are in fact talking about it. It's true. It happens all the time. Okay, so your deer hunter friends that's telling you that it never happens. I'm sure that he's a great shot. I'm sure that he's a great hunter, but he's probably using one round that he always uses. He's probably always aiming in the same exact spot. And it's probably a really high powered round that's really heavy and it passes through probably most of the time when that round probably does that, right? We don't know what kind of round it was though, like we've talked about. And even then, guys, it's possible if he did hit the bone, it would actually deflect. And it wouldn't deflect, and it would actually deflect quite often. But he's probably shooting the lungs, the heart. He's probably a great shot. He's probably not hitting these areas. If that makes sense. Not only do we have these animal examples, we also have human examples, and we have countless books, studies, researches, case studies showing that not only sometimes, not only just once in a while, but thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of cases where people are getting hit in the spine and it's deflecting down. They're getting hit in a bone and it's deflecting down. Guys, here's the thing. They're saying that if it hits the spine or it hits a bone, it's most likely going to deflect, and quite often, sometimes up to like 30% more likely to. And if it's at an angle, right, even more. And we have evidence we have soldiers getting hit in the neck and it going all the way out, hitting the bone, deflecting and going out the hip. We have people getting hit in the neck and it staying in the neck or deflecting down. We have stories of soldiers getting hit in the side, hitting the spine, and it going down. We have stories of criminals attacking people where the same thing is happening. It's not something that's 1 in 5 million zillion chances, guys. It's something that's happening quite often. And we have the studies and the experiences, testimonials, and all these things that show it's possible. Go do some actual research. My point is, guys, is now we have the evidence. We've seen all the people talking about it. We've seen a bunch of case studies. And guys, there's thousands of more case studies showing that when a bullet hits a bone, it's highly likely to deflect, go down somewhere else into the body. And guys, I mean, think about it. The neck, your spine is just at the back of your neck right here. If I hit you in the neck, it's most likely going to hit you in the spine. Is that agreeable upon? And if it's at an angle, and you have around a 35 to 55% chance of staying in the body at an angle, and then you add if it hits the bone, and another 30% on top of that, guys, that's a high percentage of it staying in the body. And we see all the studies showing this. We see the hunters talking about this, debating whether it's possible or not. I think we can conclude with all this information that we have at this point that not only is it not impossible, not crazy, not ridiculous, you shouldn't be laughing at your friends for believing that, but it's actually not just likely, but highly likely, highly probable. All the evidence, all the case studies, all the medical journals that we're seeing say that it's highly probable. And guys, in the beginning, like I said, I was with you guys a little bit. I was kind of like, oh man, this is kind of like a little bit weird. Like, is that really possible? Like, you see all these people shooting these things, like I said, and you don't really think about it that much. It isn't until you go out and shoot the water bottles yourself and then realize that water makes a huge difference. You see these slow motion cameras shooting these things and you're like, wow, that water makes a huge difference. That's not really relatable. And you go, wow, maybe it's not just likely, but highly likely this happened. Because not only do we have that, we have the actual round supposedly, right, from the autopsy. There was an autopsy, guys. The conspiracy there's not an autopsy is not true. Then we have, on top of that, we have video of him on the roof with the rifle. We have video of him running across the parking lot with the rifle. They have video of him putting that in the forested area with the rifle. They have his DNA on the screwdriver. They have his DNA on the trigger. They have DNA on the rounds. They have DNA on the casings. They have DNA on the rifle. So to me, all the evidence from all the hunters, from all these journals, from all the studies, from all the case studies, from all the medical studies showing that it possibly and likely deflects and all this other stuff, plus all the evidence that we have from the crime scene, to me shows that it's most likely this rifle. Guys, not only do we have all this information that we just presented, we have all the rings, the timing of the rings, the shockwave analysis. We know that it wasn't an exploding microphone. The shockwave analysis matches up. The frames per second matches up. Everything we did in this whole entire video, guys, matches up with that rifle from that location. And guys, I think this is why these rings and these feet per second analysis were so important and so awesome is, guys, it confirms just a lot of the stuff that we know. First of all, that it was supersonic, and then where it came from, where all the DNA and stuff was found. But guys, this just confirms that. And guys, everything has to match up. Like, if it's supersonic, it means that it has to be around it's supersonic, okay? If it couldn't have hit him from anywhere else except for that location, it has to be a rifle that is capable of hitting from that location. That means like no pistols, no palm guns, no exploding microphones like we just talked about, and just everything matches up with this, guys, and that's why this ring is so incredible. I think even without any of this other stuff about doctors and studies and case studies and examples after example of it actually happening to people, to me, these rings are just almost good enough. But it's just like we have so much more on top of that. This is pretty much undeniable at this point. I think we have overwhelming evidence here. Now, am I saying the narrative's completely true? I think that Tyler Robinson is most likely the one that did it, and we're going to go into that here in just a second and do the case for Tyler Robinson being the actual one that did it. I believe so. I believe that it was highly likely that it was this rifle. I believe that it was highly likely that it was Tyler Robinson that actually took the shot. I don't see why not, guys. It was 143 yards. This isn't like some sharpshooter crazy shot that's never been done before. He even claims that he hit something at 400 yards one time. His grandma says, oh, he's never touched a gun, but that's contrary to what we know now, what the actual truth is. But guys, what's the actual truth? I think that, and guys, I think the 30.6 thing too, I think, like I said earlier in the introduction, I think that the fact that it being a 30.6 is highly, highly, highly unlikely for some professional hit team to bring the wrong kind of rifle, and then they're going to hit them with something else and then say that it was a 30.6 and make it an unbelievable story and all this stuff. they would make it clean, believable, and even if they used the wrong rifle, they had 10 days to clean it up, and then the coroner or the autopsy guy would come out and be like, oh, we said it was a 30-06, but we got it wrong, guys. It was actually 9mm. Calm down. This is possible. I just don't see it being one of those things where, like, it's just to me, it's just ridiculous if a professional head team was to do something like this and then bring a patsy and then have them bring the wrong kind of around. It kind of contradicts logic. It kind of contradicts how intelligent some of these foreign agencies are, especially if it was like Mossad or something, like that supposedly have like the best snipers in the world, allegedly. Like, really, they're going to be, you know, supposedly want to use a 9mm or something that would supposedly be believed that it wouldn't pass through, but then they're accidentally going to use a 30-06, and then, I don't know. Anyways, guys, let's move on. I think that we can confidently say that not only was it not crazy, it's not hysterically crazy, it's not ridiculous but now after everything we know, that it was highly likely. Now let's move on and let's see if it's possible Tyler Robinson did this.
Charlie Kirk gets shot and people are celebrating. Like, whoa, 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 whoa. You want people to die that you disagree with? Like, where are we right now on the scale of 1 to Civil War? Where are we? Are we at 7? Because I thought we were 5. I thought we were like 4 or 5. But after the Charlie Kirk thing, I'm like, oh, we might be like 7.
You need conservatives to be afraid of getting killed when they go to events.
He would go and take a bullet for you to save America for your kids and grandkids.
Guys, now we're going to make the case against Tyler Robinson. I think now that we can get rid of this crazy weird thing about the 30-06 and the obsession about how it can't be the 30-06, and we can see that there's like thousands and thousands of pieces of evidence that says that it could be a 30-06 and that it's highly likely a 30-06, and this isn't like it can't be Tyler Robinson because it's not a 30-06 thing anymore. We're going to make the case that it is Tyler Robinson. And guys, even if there's some other bigger conspiracy, guys, even if it was Israel and even if it was the Foreign Legion and all these other people, there's still no proof that it wasn't Tyler Robinson, and all the proof still leads that it was Tyler Robinson, whether or not he was working with a group of deranged people or whether he was working with the Foreign Legion and all these people. It doesn't really matter. There's no proof that he didn't take the shot, right? No one's been able to prove that, take the case, and all the evidence points to him. Okay, before we get into this, it's important that we look at where his mindset was at this time, where he was living, how he was living, and how that could have affected this whole situation. All right, guys, there's a video called The Charlie Kirk Discord Logs, and also another video by Turkey Tom called The Man Who Charlie Kirk. And these videos are very, very important to understanding where Tyler Robinson was at this point of his life. He's basically living with this guy named Lance Twiggs. Lance is extremely troubled. He's building nests all over their house. He's doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Here are some photos from the supposed place. And guys, these are just notes and things that he would just write on notes and paper and stuff and just leave them all over the house in piles in the nests and everything. Just very strange. Okay, just very, very, very weird, strange, something you'd expect in like a serial killer's basement, right? Okay, so he's living in a very weird situation. This Lance guy would apparently invite a bunch of friends over and put them in the living room and then take Tyler into Tyler's room because Lance's room was full of mushrooms and mold that he was growing as well. And he would grow that mold all over the house and mushrooms all over the house, doing all kinds of drugs, hallucinogens, and all kinds of crazy stuff. And they would go off into Tyler's room because it was cleaner and do affectionate things together super loud on purpose, just for the sole purpose that the people in the living room would hear it, among a bunch of really weird, random, weird stuff, okay? Tyler had been living there for about a year, maybe more than a year, it seems like. He had known Lance for about 6 years. The same friend that disclosed this information had also known them for about 6 years. And this guy discloses all kinds of information. And guys, these videos are very, very interesting. He talks about how Tyler would call Lance Twiggs my love all the time, which kind of shows that those texts aren't that weird because this is how Tyler referred to this guy. And then also just a bunch of other weird stuff, guys. Apparently Tyler and this guy would just like cuddle on the couch all day long while Lance like cried to him about all of his problems. And pretty much anytime Lance was upset, Tyler would go take care of whatever was the problem or try to take care of it if he could. And pretty much Lance was pretty much home-ridden, it seems like, and Tyler was pretty much his like caretaker, from what it sounds like. This guy was pretty much non-functional in society. That's what it seems like, allegedly. I don't know for sure, but that's what I'm hearing allegedly. I'm not making these claims. I'm just referring what I've heard from these other sources. And, you know, it makes you wonder, did this guy get an obsession with Charlie and get all upset about it? And that's what, you know, prompted Tyler to go take care of the problem? I don't know. But it seems like it could be part of the reason why. All right, guys, then we have other notes like this one that kind of tells you where Robinson's political standings were. We have other evidence from his family and other people saying that he become pretty much radicalized to the left over the past few years. The friend says, I wish there was a simple solution against fake news, but there isn't. I have my own opinions, but that's it. Robinson then replies, pretty much if there are any sources cited and check the accuracy. If any of it's not true, then it's fake. The friend replies, I understand freedom of speech and it's cool, but it makes it so media can lie about anything. Then Robinson replies, and I'll read this part slower because it's the important part. I wish at least this wasn't protected under freedom of speech because it's speech that actively harms people. So he's not for freedom of speech if it's something that actively harms people. Like this is the average mindset of this kind of people. And just like my theory shows, this is the kind of person that's on this different side who wishes that people would just listen to whatever they're told and do whatever they are told. Because there's also evidence that Tyler Robinson did have experience with guns, because he also, one time at work, when a coworker brought his new pistol to show off, he perked up and volunteered that he had once hit a 400-yard shot. One friend says Tyler liked guns and thought they were cool. Said one friend who recalled Robinson rattling off facts about various weapons. Guys, this goes to show that the people out there that are like, oh my gosh, there's like a 143-yard shot. That must have taken like the best marksman in the entire world to take that shot. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. Guys, people hit shots up to like 2,000 yards. But we know right here from experience, this coworker is saying that he had bragged about hitting a 400-yard shot. That's almost 4 times farther. So if he can hit this, then he can obviously hit a 143-yard shot. And then this friend is saying that Tyler liked guns. All right, guys, now we're going to look through the timeline and see step by step how the event went down. And we're going to look at video of Tyler and other evidence that from Tyler Robinson, or supposedly Tyler Robinson, right? Because this is backed up by DNA and all this kind of stuff as well. And then after that, we're going to look at the charging document. All right, guys, this website was the best breakdown of the timeline that I could find. And I'm just going to go off this because it seems like it checks out with everything I could also find off other places, but this is the best overall breakdown. September 10th, 8:29 a.m., Tyler arrives allegedly on campus in a gray Dodge Challenger. We can see this right here. Gray Challenger coming into the neighborhood at around 8:23, and it lines up with the timeline. He was wearing a plain maroon t-shirt, light colored shorts, light colored shoes, and a black hat with a white logo. And here he is, guys, on security footage, walking with that description of clothing. All right, guys, around 11:50 a.m., he's spotted walking in a grassy area with a distinctive gait. And guys, at this point, he has changed into a different pair of clothing. And here we can see him walking with that distinctive gait with something down his pants, allegedly the rifle. At 11:53, Robinson pauses and pulls out what appears to be a cell phone, puts the cell phone back, keeps walking, and made his way to the Losi Center, a building west of the courtyard where Kirk was speaking. It's my understanding that he parks in that neighborhood, walks through the neighborhood like we just saw, walks through the tunnel, and then up to the parking garage. And that's where we get these photos right here. Okay, then he walks along here, and there's several ways he could go. He could go up this way and then go up here, or he could go up this way and walk up these stairs and then get up here. Either way, it is said that he is seen around the north side of this building, and then he makes his way into the Losi building, and then over here and up these stairs. Okay, 12:15, Robinson was observed walking up the stairs towards the roof. Robinson allegedly climbed over a short wall and crouched down on the north side of the roof. He's observed going up these stairs right here, and then he goes over this railing, and he's hiding right here. Okay, Robinson at 12:22 stands up, runs across the roof towards the west side, and appears to scoot as he got closer to the edge. Investigator says that his limp was noticeably gone. He laid down facing toward the courtyard area in a position ready to... So basically he sprints over here and then he scoots along the edge into this position right here. And guys, we can also see that corroborated right here with a video of someone in that exact position. At 12:23, allegedly Tyler takes the shot from this location and then is immediately seen by not only this camera, but the other camera from the school security system running off the roof. They say the suspect placed a dark colored item on top of the roof and proceeded to lower himself. The affidavit states, the shoe impression is consistent with the shoe sole characteristics of a Converse Chuck Taylor shoe. So 12:23, as you can see from this timestamp here, that is what we see, him running across the roof. Or whoever this is, guys. But we have evidence on the roof of him having a screwdriver with his DNA on there. and his DNA is also on the rifle, so that is evidence that he was up there. As well as the fingerprints, the palm prints, and all the rest of the fingerprints that they have on the roof that I showed you earlier in this video. This is where they say that he places the item on the roof before grabbing it and jumping down onto the floor, leaving those shoe impressions, which they also have recorded as evidence. Okay, then at 12:24, it says Robinson was seen running north across the Campus Drive Road and appeared to be carrying an item. He crossed over a grassy area with trees on the edge of campus where investigators claim to have found a 30-06 rifle with the scope mounted on top, wrapped in a dark colored towel. So guys, basically they're claiming that obviously we see someone running with a dark colored towel running this way towards this street here. And then guys, this camera is like one of those huge like 360 type cameras, so it's going to grab the whole area around it. If you want to see the whole area around it, it's pretty expansive. Not the right quality camera, but it does get quite a bit of the area. And so what it's going to see is him crossing the street here, and it's going to see him going into the wooded area just over, which is just over here out of view from what we see on the security footage. All right, guys. And then after the incident, Robinson is texting his friends on this game. I think it's called Wordy or something like that. And he's saying, "You see the news? Utah gets a national headline for the first time in a while, and it's someone sliming Charlie Kirk." This friend says, "Yeah, I heard he got attempted on." Robinson then says, "No, like an hour ago." He also says he's reported, and the footage looks bad. You guys, he's also making phone calls in Discord chats and asking people about it with heavy breath and just very weird behavior. Then friends are seeing this photo here and reposting it in Discord chats that they're all in. Okay, I'm not sure how many people are in these chats, but people are posting this, and then they're posting things like this. Tagging Mr. Robinson's username on Discord, a messaging platform, the acquaintance attached the images and wrote, "Where you at?" Meaning, where you at? With a skull emoji suggesting that Mr. Robinson looked like the man being sought. Guys, his own friends are recognizing him from this photo. So all these people on the internet that are like, "There's no way anybody could tell who that is from that photo." Like, his own friends, guys, in his own Discord messaging are making jokes saying this looks like him, right? And then Tyler responds within a minute saying it's his doppelganger and that he was trying to get me in trouble. And then one of his other friends says, "Tyler killed Charlie." But guys, his own friends recognize him from this, okay? It's ridiculous. Okay, in some of these lower chats on this Discord, he's also saying, "I heard the ammo had something about stuff on it, but they aren't releasing photos or exact quotes," he wrote. He added, "And also the claim wasn't backed by the official FBI, just some dude in the briefing room." And then a few minutes later, he joked, "I'm actually Charlie Kirk, wanted to get out of politics, so I faked my death. Now I can live out my dream in Kansas." And guys, then he's also releasing stuff about the rounds having stuff written on it before those things even came out. What's he say right here? Look at what he says right here. "I heard the ammo had something about stuff on it, but they aren't releasing the photos or exact quotes." Guys, they did release the photos through, I think it was Crowder, right? Steven Crowder released those photos shortly after. No one had released these yet. This is like right afterwards. This is kind of like what we talked about in the keeping crime scenes secret thing. Well, only the person who commits that crime knows the information. How does he know this information before that stuff comes out? And then not only that, guys, in the same Discord chat, he comes out and he says, "Hey guys, I have bad news for you all. It was me at UVU yesterday. I'm sorry for all of this. I'm surrendering through a sheriff friend in a few moments. Thanks for all the good times and laughs. You've all been so amazing. Thank you for everything." Guys, this is like before he turns himself in. This isn't while he's in custody. This isn't while someone else has his phone. This is him before everything. This is like, why? Like, why are you going to go do this and confess if you didn't do it? Okay, I think already we could probably just turn this off and not go any further, but we're going to go over the charging document now. And guys, real quick, the other thing that I think kind of shows that Tyler Robinson is not a patsy of some sort is why go arrest two other people? Why go create that confusion? Why, right? They went and they tried to arrest George Zinn, which was weird. Okay, and then they also went and they like arrested some other guy like a few hours later. Maybe it was really quick after that. I don't remember exactly, but it was either like a couple hours later or just a few minutes later. Some guy had a rifle in his trunk or something. I'm not sure about that whole entire story, but why go arrest those two people and then release them? To me, that doesn't make any sense. If this is some well-orchestrated thing by professional, people that set this whole thing up.
Especially if you've already planted Tyler Robinson's rifle, if you're going to plant all of his handprints, if you're going to plant all of his fingerprints, DNA, shoe prints. You've had this whole thing planned from the beginning. You have all the text messages. You've supposedly gone and confessed to all of his parents. You've supposedly confessed to everyone in the Discord. You supposedly have all the stuff you've set up specifically to target Tyler Robinson as the patsy. If you believe this whole thing is a conspiracy from the whole entire beginning and all this stuff is set up,
why are you going to go arrest 2 people and make the whole thing questionable? Your job as a professional setup people is to set up this whole entire thing in such a way where it's not questioned by anybody, and that you remain credible, and that the government is completely non-questioned, and everyone just nods their head and falls in line with the narrative. Why go arrest 2 other people and be wrong about it? I don't know. Could be nothing, but I feel like that's another thing that kind of points to him not being a patsy, and that Tyler Robinson is the actual person.
All right, so now we're going to go through the charging document to see what other evidence that they have in this case. Guys, I know a lot of people won't believe this or they don't believe this, and their whole basis of that is the 30-06 thing. I think that now that we can see that was actually highly likely that it was a 30-06, maybe people can get over that and actually read this with an open mind. But even if you don't agree with it, still read it to see what the other side has to say about it, because it's always a good idea to have what the other side says so you can have a better opinion of what you think anyways. So let's continue. Guys, we're just going to paraphrase. This would take hours to go through if we actually went through it line by line, so we're not going to do that. And because this first part is just an introduction, and then the counts that they're trying them for each offense. And then down here is the probable cause statement, basically the evidence that they have for trying them on those things, and just a brief little description. This part here just describes how an officer hears the shot, hears that it comes from a certain roof, finds evidence of someone being prone on that roof, and then it goes over how they followed surveillance camera to find all the way down to finding him going off the roof, and then finding the rifle in the wooded area. It then details what was written on those casings, and then it talks about how there's DNA consistent with Robinson's on the trigger, other parts of the rifle, the fired cartridge casings, and 2 of the 3 unfired cartridges, and the dowel. All right, guys, this gets to the most important part. Please come read this. I'm going to still kind of paraphrase. Basically, this just basically says, guys, that the mother recognizes the son. She contacts him. He says that he was sick that day. This is on the 11th and at home. And that he was also homesick on the 10th. Like, it's kind of weird. If my mom calls me and I say, hey, I've been sick. Oh, how long? Oh, the last few days. I'm not going to be like, I was sick today, September 11th, and also yesterday at home, stuck all day at home, September 10th, 2025. It's like he's trying to make himself a little bit of an alibi right here, right? She shows the photos to the father. The father agrees. The mother also explains that over the last year, Robinson had become more and more left, been in a relationship with a biological male who's transitioning. And then there's been some discussions. It seems like there's some kind of friction, and the father and Tyler have most of these conversations. One time, Robinson mentions Charlie Kirk would be holding an event at UVU and said it was a stupid venue and that Charlie was spreading hate. Robinson's father then agrees that when his wife showed him the footage, it looked like his son, and that he also believed that the rifle was a gift that was given to their son and recognized the rifle. He then contacts the son, tells him to send a photo of the rifle. Tyler does not respond. They speak on the phone. Tyler says that he's going to plan to take his own life. They convince him to meet at their home. As they discuss the situation, Tyler implies that he was the person who did this. And when asked why, he says that there's too much evil and the guy spreads too much hate. Guys, what do we see this matching up with? It matches up with exactly what he told his parents a couple weeks ago about Troy spreading hate and then it being a stupid venue. It also matches in the text where he says, I've had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. So we see 3 times his motive for doing this. Then the family convinces him to talk to a deputy sheriff who's also a former family friend. They meet. He confesses to that friend, and they go turn himself into the sheriff's office. Police then interview the roommate, who is the one that's transitioning. That dude is Lance Twiggs. He shows them texts from September 10th showing that Tyler said, drop what you were doing, look under my keyboard. The roommate looked under the keyboard and found a note that stated, I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it. And police found a photograph of this note. As what we have so far, we have all the stuff we've already talked about earlier in this video, all the surveillance footage, all that stuff. The screwdriver and all that kind of stuff, and all the footage of him going on campus. Now we have a confession to his mom, a confession to his dad, a confession to the family friend. We also have several confessions in these Discord chats as well as to Lance Twiggs. And we have him turning himself in. You don't turn yourself in because you want to spend the night in jail. You don't turn yourself because you want to go see Bubba. You don't turn yourself because you want to have a great time behind bars. You only turn yourself in because you did something wrong. Okay, not only do we have that video footage and these 4 confessions, now we also have the evidence of having that DNA on everything, pretty much, all over the rifle, the cartridges, the casings, all those things. We have it also on the towel, and then we also have the handprints on the rooftop and that screwdriver. That's a lot of evidence. All right, now we're gonna look at these texts, guys. Just briefly, we're not gonna go over this for super long because we could go over this for also a long time. There's just a couple things I want to go over this with because I don't think it's worth spending any time on these texts really because they were just kind of stupid and ridiculous. And I think I have 3 reasons why they're actually legitimate. Okay, let's go over those reasons first. First of all, Tyler says "my love" right here. Apparently, that is something that he often talked to Twigs and used to refer to Twigs when he talked to Twigs. That's like his term of endearment for Twigs. Okay, so why is it in here if this is all some ChatGPT made up thing? You know. And I guess it's possible they use ChatGPT to kind of like maybe make it so a forensics expert couldn't track it or something. But maybe he still edited that part and put "my love" in different parts in there. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me that it would be ChatGPT, but I mean, it's possible. But even if so, it would still have to match the cell phone records, which we're going to get to in a second. Then down here, guys, he's asked about why he did it, and it's about the hatred, which he told his parents twice, which matches what we see up here, guys, where Robinson accuses Kirk of spreading hate, and also when he confesses, the reason why is because he spreads too much hate. Okay, so not only do we have those 2 things that match, we have another part right here where he asks how long he's been planning it, and he says a little bit over a week. Right here we have an article that has evidence of someone being on that roof twice in the last week or 2 before the incident. A professor and a student saw someone, guys, on that roof twice before the incident. Someone was there planning. Is that Robinson? They're going to have whoever this is on video footage and on camera, and they're going to be able to identify him. That's going to come out in the court case as well. I highly suspect that it's probably Robinson, if not one of his co-collaborators. So not only do we have that, we have him talking about it being his grandpa's rifle. How would they know it was the grandpa's rifle if he's just some patsy or whatnot? They would have just planted a rifle and said it was his, put his fingerprints and DNA on it. How would they know the history behind that rifle? All right, guys, let's just say that 20 years ago, my grandpa gave me a baseball bat, and I have that baseball bat in my garage, and someone wants to frame me, so they go grab that, and they hit someone with it, and now they put it in my car, and now I'm going to get framed for it. They wouldn't know to, fake the things and say that it was my grandpa's baseball bat. They would just say that it was my baseball bat. I don't think that makes any sense at all either. Okay. Guys, this has been debunked like 1,000 times already. I'm going to debunk it in a little bit of a different way. What we do know is that now we know that it was for sure the same rifle that they take a picture of in the box. But people are still stuck on, well, it's a stock photo. Well, guys, even if it was a stock photo, I'm going to show you right now why it doesn't matter. Okay. Let's just say that someone used a Ruger American 270 rifle. They left it in the bushes somewhere. And guys, let's just say that the police used a stock photo, this being the stock photo right here. And this stock photo, guess what it is of, guys? It's of a Ruger American 270, meaning it looks exactly the same as the actual one found in the woods. Well, done. It's done. It's over. The same thing, same result. It doesn't matter that it's a stock photo or not a stock photo. The person still can recognize it because guess what? The rifle is the same rifle. That whole argument, I don't understand what the importance of it is or what the people are trying to say. It doesn't matter if it's a stock photo or the actual photo. If someone releases photos of that suspect and then they release the stock photos of this rifle and then people go, oh, that looks kind of like this person and that rifle looks exactly like his rifle. Well, it is that rifle. It's the same exact rifle. It's just a different picture of it because it's a stock photo of that rifle. Like, right? If I see for example, if I see a blue jay flying through the air and I take a photo of that blue jay and it's a little bit blurry, but then I go on the internet and I find a stock photo and I say, hey, guess what? To all my friends, I just saw this bird, and I send them a stock photo. People aren't going to be like, hey, you didn't see that exact bird. It's a stock photo of that bird. I'm talking about the species, the exact species. That other bird looks exactly the same. It's the same thing. Anyways, guys, we can move on from this one. It's ridiculous. Plus, it wasn't even a stock photo. It was the actual real photo anyways, but just in case you're still stuck on this, there you go. Then right here, he's confessing and saying, hey, remember how I was engraving these rounds and then how it's a meme and these things? He's saying that his roommate had previously seen him engraving rounds, and now he's saying that in the text. How would they have known that without having collaboration from the roommate? Anyways, guys, there's just a bunch of things in here that prove that this is actually legitimate. But even if you don't think that they're legitimate for those reasons, the cell phone companies have this information. They may even have the actual text. We know that Edward Snowden says that they have more information than we think they do. But even if they don't have these actual texts back and forth, they're going to have the timestamps. So if this was sent after he was arrested, and this is true that these are all made up and they're all planted, they would have to have both phones. And those timestamps are going to show that they're after the arrest anyway, so they're not going to be legit, right? And the defense is going to have them thrown out. They're going to be proven fake, and we'll find that out during the trial. However, if the cell phone companies have these sent on September 10th, when they were supposedly sent, that's not fakeable. Down here is just kind of the end, just the different counts again, and then the signature of the Utah County attorney. And guys, if you don't think that's enough, and you still think this is crazy, crazy weird and funny, watch this.
Good chat. Let's lock in. Rope came prepared. Now, I know it's giving to Lulu for this chuggy boomer to speak in such skibbity brain rot.
Really? This is weird? This is what people are speaking in this generation of this guy, guys. This is supposed to be super crazy weird?
Put the fries in the bag in just a second. I have of tomorrow. That's.
But guys, this is normal?
It's an infinite money glitch that slaps.
Okay, that is very weird to me. I don't think that this is normal, but this right here does not seem super abnormal, especially when you compare it to this. And guys, this is one of the first pieces of misinformation that started coming out, was this video right here. I'm not sure where I first saw this whole entire thing, but they started using this video as evidence that Tyler Robinson never uses the word vehicle, and the crazy weirdos use the word vehicle. And that he uses the word car, and therefore he always uses the word car and never would ever use the word vehicle.
She's gonna be a minute. She's gotta shuttle over from where she's at to her car and then drive over.
Gotcha. What they forget to show you is 5 seconds later.
There's a vehicle in the lane.
What?
There's a vehicle in the lane.
So guys, we can see that he uses both the word car and vehicle, and this got put out there, and it was like used as proof and evidence, even though it's not. Anyways, these aren't crazy. They're not weird. They're not that strange. You guys remember, this is coming from a generation that says skibbity doo dah, Riz, Ohio. And also, this dude here is living with a dude, Lance Twiggs, who these texts are back and forth with, who he always says my love to. And also, this guy is building nests, growing mushrooms, doing constant amounts of crazy drugs, and writing serial killer notes all over the apartment. So this is probably the least weird thing you're going to find them talking to each other back and forth with, right? Guys, this is my final argument as to Tyler Robinson being the alleged person who did this. And I say alleged because, innocent until proven guilty. He hasn't been through the court system yet. I can't say for sure that it was him. This is my case that it is him. And let's just get started with the fact that, guys, how many crimes are on camera? How many crimes are caught on camera? I was looking, I couldn't find that much data on this because there's so few crimes caught on camera that there really is not that much data at all. So the fact that this is caught on camera, guys, this is an actual crime caught on camera, is very rare. And the fact that we have him on camera doing it, okay, we have him arriving on campus, we have him in his car, getting out of the car in one pair of clothes, going back to the car, changing, coming to campus again on a second pair of clothes, shows that he was planning, shows that he was doing stuff in order to plan this. Then he goes on that roof. And guys, not only does he go on a roof, he goes on the only roof that is within this ring that we discovered earlier, which is the only spot that it really could have come from. There's very other few spots that it could have come from, like we looked at in our overview of campus. That's the only spot, guys, really, that matches up with anything logically with the viewpoint like we saw, but as well as matching up with the feet per second rings, as well as this ring right here from the sonic boom analysis ring, okay? So that pinpoints him right there. It's within that ring, within these rings. It's a possibility, and not only a possibility, but only the real possibility, it seems like. And guys, not only that, they're going to have him taking the shot on camera. That's not for me or you to see. That's for the court trial. Maybe eventually you'll see that, but that's not for us at this moment. Then he runs this way off the roof. They have his fingerprints and his handprints on this roof right here. Then they have his footprints down here below where he jumps down, and then he runs across the street into the wooded area where they then find the rifle, and they have his DNA not only on that rifle, but on a screwdriver on this roof, and then on that rifle in several different places, the casings, the actual rifle itself, the rounds that are left in the rifle, and on that towel, okay? So what do we have so far, guys? We have him on video pretty much doing the whole entire thing. Okay, we have him arriving on campus. We have him doing the whole entire thing on video, which is pretty much all you really need. I mean, if someone takes a video of me punching somebody and then that guy wants to charge me for assault, they don't really need my fingerprints on his chin. They have the video of me doing it, right? I mean, come on, right? Okay, not only do they have that, the video, They also have, like I said, the fingerprints on that screwdriver. They have the handprints on the roof, the fingerprints on the roof, the footprints here, the DNA all over the rifle, the fingerprints all over the rifle. That is just the video by itself would be good enough. Just those fingerprints and just those handprints by themselves would be good enough. But guys, is that all they have? No, they have more. They have him telling his dad before that UVU is a really bad place for a bad venue because he doesn't like Charlie Kirk, that he spreads hate. What else do we have? We have him telling his friends that he did it. He confesses to his friends in Discord. Not only does he confess to his friends in Discord, he tells his roommate beforehand with a note that he was going to do this. He said, I have the opportunity to do this and I'm going to do it. Then what does he do? He also texts afterwards confessing to the same roommate that he did it. So he confesses to his friends and then he confesses to his roommate twice. Once in an admission that he's planning this and then he was actually on the way to do it pretty much. And then a second time after he did it, he confesses to doing it. Then he's in Discord messages also talking about it and joking about it and asking things and knowing only things the person who did it would actually know. How does he know those things if he's not the one that did it? Okay. Not only is he confessing to all those friends, not only is he confessing to his roommate twice, not only does he know stuff that he shouldn't know unless he was the person who did it, he then talks to his dad, who his dad and his friends and his mom all recognize him. Not just his mom and dad, but also his friends. We saw that. But not only that, he's confessing to his mom. He's confessing to his dad. He confesses to both of them. Then he confesses to the family friend. Then they get in a car, I suppose, or a truck or something, and they drive to the police station, and he turns himself in. Guys, you don't go turn yourself into the police station because you want a comfortable night on a jail cell bed. You're not going to just drive there and be like, I'm here because I'm turning myself in for wanting a free night sleep in the jail cell. He's turning himself in for a reason. What reason is that? Well, he's already confessed to like 5 people at this point. So I think we can assume that he's turning himself in for that same reason that he's confessing to his friends and his dad and his mom and his family friend. And he turns himself in, which pretty much says, I'm turning myself in for a crime, which pretty much is, I mean, to me, that's pretty much an admission of a crime, right? Turning yourself in for something. I wouldn't drive by a police station randomly and be like, today I would like a tour of a jail cell. I'm just going to turn myself in for, let's just make up something and just say I did it if I didn't do it. So now we have like 3 separate things that are good enough, okay? The video of him doing it, in my opinion, is good enough just on its own. The fingerprints and the DNA are good on its own. Now we have all these confessions, which to me are good enough all on their own. If I came to you or you came to me and you said, hey, I just slapped this person, I would believe you. Okay? If that person comes to me and they show me their cheek and it has your handprint on it and it's the same size as your hand, I'm going to be like, okay, this is pretty legit, especially if you just told me that you did. And if someone has a video of you doing that, just from the video itself, I'm going to believe that. And if you have a video of that, plus your handprint, plus you confessing to me that you did it, I'm for sure going to believe that you did it. Okay. And guys, I really think that 90% of the people that can't believe this, the main reason is because of the 30-06. And I think now that we've covered that and we've shown that not only is that likely, but it's highly likely, and that it's not some weird, crazy, impossible thing that like all these people are trying to make you and psyop you into thinking. I think that we can actually get to the truth now, and you can see it is Tyler Robinson that did this, okay? Just 2 more examples, guys, and then we'll end this video and go to the conclusion of what I think about this whole entire situation. But basically, guys, it's like if Joe breaks into your house and steals your TV and he leaves fingerprints on the wall. Maybe he cuts himself trying to get it off the TV mount and there's some DNA in there. And then he takes your TV to his small Corolla and he drives away. And your neighbor saw him do it. The police get a description that matches Joe from the neighbor. The security camera from your camera matches that it's Joe. Joe calls his mom and says, hey, I stole some guy's TV. I feel really bad about it. Joe drives to the police station, turns himself in. And you have the video of it. He's confessed. You have the DNA. You have the fingerprints. Joe gets arrested. It's all over the news that Joe stole your TV and threw it in Corolla. But some random YouTuber sees that Corolla is a certain size. And it's really unbelievable that he fit a 75-inch TV in that Corolla. And even though all the measurements and all the studies shows that you could actually fit that size TV in the Corolla, but not only that, it shows like the logs of like the last 100 years of shipments, and thousands of that same size TV have been transported in Corollas. This YouTuber is out there screaming that how is this possible? How is this possible? It cannot be that Joe did it because you can't fit a 75-inch TV into a Corolla, even though you can. And then like $500 YouTubers come out and they start, trying to shove 85-inch TVs into their Corolla to prove that you can't fit a 75-inch TV into a Corolla. And pretty soon nobody believes your story because they can't get over the fact that you can't fit a 100-inch TV or an 85-inch TV into a Corolla, even though what they're trying to show is not relatable to the situation. Or maybe they are even trying to fit the right size TV. Maybe they are trying to put a 75-inch TV in these demonstrations, but maybe they're not opening the door all the way. Maybe they're not putting it at the right angle. And regardless, it doesn't matter. Even if their experiments fell every single time, it wouldn't matter because there's some element missing. Because guess what? We have all those records. We have the records of 1,000 of these TVs being fit inside that Corolla. Just like we have thousands and thousands of records of a 30-06 being stuck in the body, whether that's in the neck or some other place. A lot of the times in the neck, there's records of that. There's records of it getting stuck in other places of the body. The same thing. Even if they were trying to fit this TV, the same size TV in there and it wouldn't fit, the experiment isn't even necessary because we know that it's happened thousands of times in reality. Guys, I actually wanted to show you the x-rays of these rounds stuck in the body. I just don't know if YouTube would allow that, and I don't want to get my account, suspended over posting something inappropriate or gruesome like that. But guys, there are hundreds and hundreds of x-rays where the 30-06 and even more powerful rounds are stuck in the neck, in the ribs, in the skull. Like, I wanted to show you those, and you can go look at them. If you actually care about the situation and you care about Charlie Kirk and you care about the situation, don't just watch my video and stick your fingers in my ears and be like, no, he didn't show them to us, therefore it doesn't exist. Go look. I'm going to cite all of those resources in the description down below. Go look at those. Go scroll through those. You can scroll through 22 rounds. You can scroll through 9mm rounds. You can scroll through 45 rounds. You can scroll through all the different kinds of wounds, all the way through like 50 caliber. And you're going to see x-ray after x-ray of 30 caliber rounds, 30-06s, 300 Win Mags, 338 Lapuas. You can go down there and look through those records and see for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Even if I showed them to you here, you might say I photoshopped them. Go look for yourself. They're there. They're there. Like, I don't have to convince you. If you actually believe, if you're actually in this for the truth, if you're actually in this for the right reasons, and you're just not trying to prove your theory right, go look. Go look for yourself so you know the truth. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of x-rays in these files of 30-06s in the neck, in the lungs, in the ribs, in the skulls being stopped in the body. And I just didn't want to show you that because I don't know what the rules are as far as showing that. But go if you actually care. I believe if you actually care, you'll go look. Now, if you go look and you still don't believe it, then that's fine. But at least go look. That's pretty much what's going on here, I think, guys, is people are being misled by thinking it's impossible that a 30-06 could do this, and therefore they won't believe any of the evidence that actually is evidence. And not just evidence, guys, overwhelming evidence. His own defense attorney said that they needed more time because of how voluminous the evidence is. And what that tells me is the evidence that I presented to you, they have a lot more. And I think what I just presented to you, basically, guys, all the videos, all the DNA, all the fingerprints, all the confessions. Guys, confessions to like 5, 6, even more people, because there's more people than that in the Discord chats. To me, every single one of those on their own would be good enough to convict this guy of this crime. But all combined is pretty much a slam dunk. It's probably one of the easiest, most slam dunk cases in the history of any case. Like I said earlier, guys, usually most crimes, it's like one fingerprint can solve a crime. One piece of hair left at a crime scene can solve a crime. And in this case, we have like videos, fingerprints, DNA, confessions, evidence of him planning it, telling people the same thing that he didn't like Charlie Kirk, and the same reason why he actually took him out, to both his dad and also to his roommate. Guys, it's overwhelming. There's just so much overwhelming evidence to this. The only way you could possibly believe not is that if you are so overwhelmed with it being a conspiracy that you don't believe that any of this evidence is legitimate. All the videos are fake. All the DNA is fake. All the fingerprints are fake. Everything else is fake as well. Like all the confessions are also fake. And in order to believe that, you're going to have to believe that this guy's dad is going to stand up in court and willingly send his son to a punishment that is punishable by the deletion method in Utah. And you're telling me that this dad thinks he's innocent and he's not going to go stand up for his son? He's not going to go, you know, if this was your kid and you had a gag order, even if this was your best friend and you had a gag order, let alone your own family, friend's kind of hard because you'd have to know for sure that they were innocent. Even if it was your own kid, if you thought they were you'd have to know for sure that they were innocent for sure. But if you knew they were for sure innocent, let's just say that you were with your kid from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. one day, and then the next day they come scoop him up and they say, well, yesterday at 10 a.m. he was robbing a bank, and you know that you're for sure he was innocent, or even if it was your friend and you were with him and you know that he's for sure innocent, it's the right thing to do no matter what gag order they gave you. And I think it would be so hard, especially if it was your own kid. You would violate that gag order in a second to come out and be like, my kid is innocent. You would scream it in the courtroom. You would go find any podcast you could get on. You'd go find any news agency that would take your story, and you would shout, my kid is innocent. They are still manning him into jail, basically. He's a patsy. This is a massive cover-up. You would be screaming it from the rooftops. You wouldn't be turning him in and then staying silent about it. At least I wouldn't. And I think if you loved your kid, you wouldn't either, right? And if they were guilty, you would hopefully do the right thing and turn them in too, and that would be terrible, 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 and very hard, and I feel really bad for this family. But the fact is they did. And that's my case against Tyler Robinson, guys. And the only other option, guys, is the whole thing is such a crazy conspiracy that I'm not going to go into it too much detail because I want to end this and get on to the conclusion of this video. But you would literally have to think that like 500 to 1,000 people are in on it, meaning, you know, all the hospital staff, all the police officers, all of TPUSA, all of the hospital staff, like I just said, like meaning like, you know, the secretary, the nurses, the doctor themselves, and then the staff of the coroner office or whoever did the autopsy, all those people, the FBI. You'd have to think that Kash Patel was in on it, Donald Trump was in on it. You'd have to think that the staff of all of Air Force Two was in on it. Guys, this would be the biggest conspiracy that ever happened. And guys, remember, it's literally impossible to fake that sonic boom sound. It's specific to where you're standing, okay? So if all of these recordings are somehow faked, that means that the FBI, TPUSA, the government, whoever was all involved in on this, had to know exactly how many people were going to show up. And not only how many people were going to show up, they would have had to know exactly where they were going to stand, or exactly when they were going to walk by. Remember, guys, classes were also going on during this time period. It's possible someone would have just walked out of class, walked up to the event, seen this happen, and then walk away. They would have had to know exactly who was going to show up, who was going to stumble upon it, who was going to record, and from which place. And then they would have had to sit in a lab or an audio studio or something and doctor over and over and over again. You know, they'd have to bring a rifle, and then they would have to like go to every single different step, and they'd have to fire the sonic boom 3,000 to 4,000 different times for each distance that someone was standing. And then at the event, they'd have to go up to each person and then be like, hey, we're going to take your cell phone now and we're going to upload this file to it. Is that okay? Like, people actually think that's what happened. I mean, that's what would have had to happen to have all these sonic booms happen at different timings and different distances. Every single person would have had to have their phone grabbed, and they would have had to have their file replaced with someone else's file, depending on where they were standing. So you're telling me that the shot went off, and then some government overlord descended in a helicopter with a loudspeaker and said, everyone freeze, don't move, give us your phones. And they sat there while the government uploaded different sound files to their phones so that it would match the profile. That's the only way you could have faked this, guys. I don't know. I don't believe that. I don't believe that happened, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's what happened. And there'd be whistleblowers coming out, and there'd be leaks. There would, you know, the leaks always happen on big conspiracies. You see what happened on January 6th, how many leaks came out of that. Moon landing leaks. You have people, you know, commenting on the moon saying that it's not real. People who supposedly actually flew to the moon will admit now that it was not real. People always leak on these things, especially on the big ones. It's not possible to cover it up and keep it sealed. If that was the case, guys, we would know about that. And we don't have anything like that. This is Tyler Robinson. It's not some crazy conspiracy. conspiracy. It was a 30-06. It came from that roof where the 30-06 matches up with those rings as well. And it matches up with Tyler Robinson as well. Guys, this is the person on that roof. This is the person in that video. We have the fingerprints, the DNA, and all the confessions, all of the video, and all of the DNA, and all the fingerprints. It's Tyler Robinson. Let's move on.
Nothing irritates me more in modern American culture than the glorification of victimhood. There is nothing admirable or virtuous about being a victim.
All right, guys, now that I've made my case for the 30-06 as well as it being Tyler Robinson, what I want to ask you guys is, if it wasn't the 30-06, which we know now happens hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of times in the past, it just has. That's not something that's speculation. That's not something that's like, well, could this happen? We don't need to go out and do a bunch of tests about it. Like I said before, guys, that's like doing an experiment to find out if black bears exist. Like, even if you've never seen a black bear, even if you've never encountered black bear remains on the ground, even if you've never seen black bear footprints, you don't have to go out there and do all kinds of experiments to try to find out if a black bear exists, because black bears exist. They're in many zoos. There's many studies about them. There's photographs of them. The same with the 30-06 wounds. The same exact situation. We've seen that in the past video, okay? So I don't think we have to speculate. I don't think we have to keep wasting ammo and doing all these tests to find out if it's possible, because we know it is. All these tests that have been done, I don't know what's missing in them, but there's some kind of a factor missing, because it's not coming out with the same solution as what we know is actually possible from all these reports, medical reports, autopsies, all that stuff we've already covered, okay? We've covered and made the case that it's Tyler Robinson. Guys, I guarantee you that they have video of him. People are out there saying, well, we don't know if it was for sure him on the roof, blah, blah, blah. I guarantee you guys that they have higher quality video and photos probably that we have not seen, and they're not going to show us. Maybe we'll see them during the trial, but I guarantee that those blurry photos that we have seen, they're like 10 times sharper when you take the actual SD card out of the camera, and it's not just a broadcast from the internet, and they can probably clearly see with their eyes that it's Tyler Robinson, okay? So I don't think we can really debate that one too much. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they don't. We'll probably find out during the trial if they do or not. You know, it's too early right now to say, well, we don't know for sure if it's him or not. Because if they have higher quality footage, and guys, they probably have other footage they're not even showing us.
I'm going to ask you my question in just 1 second, but guys, also remember his friends, his own friends recognized him just from these blurry photos. And not only his friends, okay, but others, and also his parents. His own mom and dad recognized him so clearly just from these blurry photos with enough confidence to turn him in for what he did. And guys, remember, this is a capital case. They're going to put him down for this. This isn't just like, oh, my kid stole a candy bar. Let's take it back to the gas station and turn the candy bar back in so they can slap him on the wrist and tell him, don't do that again. If you're this guy's parents, I mean, tell me, if you had a kid, for example, if you had a kid and you saw a blurry photo like this of him or her, and you were like, it's too blurry. I'm not sure if it's him or not. I can't really tell. I don't know. I can't tell if it's them or not. You're not going to go and just call the FBI and be like, I know for sure this is my kid. We're going to turn him in tomorrow, that, you know, or whatever. You're not going to do that. Okay. If you suspected that was your kid, maybe you would call the FBI and say, hey, I think I know who this person is. I don't want to give you any information until I can confirm for sure. Can I see some sharper photos? Which I guarantee they have sharper photos, guys. You might ask for those sharper photos just to make sure before you turn your kid in for something that they're going to end him for. Like, you're not going to just call the police on a blurry photo and turn them in for that unless you know for sure. And my point is these blurry photos were good enough for his friends and for his parents, his own parents, to turn him in for something that they know is going to end him. That's how much confidence they have in these photos. And if they have that much confidence, I think we should have that much confidence as well in these photos. His own parents were willing to end him based on these photos. As sad and as terrible as that is, that's the truth, right? So I think anyone out there still saying, we don't know if it's Tyler Robinson that was on that roof or in these photos, I think that leads a huge amount of credibility that it actually is, okay? And guys, this is the same person that's on that roof. They're going to have better photo and better video of him on the roof as well, like we talked about. So, guys, yeah.
Also, what do we know? We know that it came from that spot on the roof, okay? So whoever that person is, if they have high quality footage of that is exactly Tyler Robinson and that's him on that roof, case closed, right? But even if it isn't, we know it came from that roof. From all of our tests and experience we've done through this whole entire video, the rings are on that roof. They all intersect on that roof. The other rings from the speed test, they all show that they intersect on that spot on the roof. That's where it came from. So whoever they have on video right there, we know that's where it came from. Okay. We also know that it's not a microphone explosion. We also know that that's not possible either. Okay. So what I want to ask you guys is, if it's not Tyler Robinson and it's not the 30.6, what is the exact mechanism, okay, that they used? Because I keep hearing all these theories. I keep hearing, well, it was Egypt, it was the Foreign Legion, it was TPUSA themselves, it was the Republican Party, it was Mossad, it was like, okay, but what's the mechanism? I have not heard one single mechanism except for the microphone, which we've pretty much debunked, and we know it's not possible at this point. What is the mechanism? That's the only other mechanism I have heard, okay? And that's what I want to ask. What is the mechanism? Okay, because if you think it was the French Foreign Legion, okay, great. How did they do it, and who did it, and where did the shot came from? We know where the shot came from. We know it came on that ring somewhere, whether it was that roof or somewhere else, but from our walkthrough of campus and our software usage, we've pretty much pinpointed that's the only place where it could have come from, okay? So what I want to know is, did French Foreign Legion land a helicopter up on Mount Timpanogos up here, and then did they parachute down onto that roof, take the shot, and then they're the ones that jumped off the roof and ran into the bushes and left the rifle, and they somehow had Tyler Robinson's rifle? Like, what's the mechanism? Was it an Israeli that went up onto Mount Timpanogos, parachuted down? Was it an Egyptian guy that snuck through campus, went through the sewer system, popped up, went up to that roof and did it? Like, what's the mechanism? Because I keep hearing these theories, and what I keep hearing isn't really theory. What I keep hearing is mostly motive. I keep hearing motive. I don't even hear theory or evidence yet. I have not heard one piece of evidence. Like, what I want is actual evidence. Evidence of a mechanism. Present me with a mechanism. Okay, besides the microphone, which we've debunked, provide me with an actual mechanism of what happened. Okay, and with evidence. Not Harpole was at Huachuca, therefore somehow he's the one that did this. Okay, if you want to say that he was at Huachuca, okay, provide me evidence that that's why he was at Huachuca. Give me the audio recordings of the plan that they were discussing. Provide me with, that's why he was there. There's a lot of reasons why someone like that would be there, and I don't even think he was there. There's so many things you can Google research about that whole thing that just disprove it right off the bat. For example, there's this whole thing about people saying that Huachuca is the only military base in the United States that does drone research. If you do a simple Google research, just type it in. Do it right now. Pull out your phone. Which military bases do drone research in the United States? There's like 15 of them, and Huachuca isn't even on the list of one of them that does it. So it's not only is it not the only one that does research about drones, it's not even on the list of any of them that does drone research. Does that make sense, guys? And I mean, that doesn't disprove the whole entire Huachuca narrative, but why are people coming out with things like that? If that's not true, it kind of makes me think the whole thing's not true. And even if they were there, which I don't think that they were there, what does it have to do with anything? There's no evidence that that's why they were there, except for that it was like the day before. It's similar to this whole entire thing that's coming out recently that says like, that's saying that Erica Kirk was in some video of her being a sniper like 10 years ago in some movie, because she was like a beauty star. She was Miss Arizona, I believe. Like, it's not uncommon for these people to get like acting careers or acting gigs or even commercials or just whatever. It's not something, it would be like if Tom Cruise's wife went missing and they were like, Tom Cruise was in Mission Impossible. He's an expert at making people disappear and taking long shots and doing crazy acrobatic things. That's kind of a leap, right? Like, it doesn't make any sense. That's not evidence that Tom Cruise made his wife disappear just because he was in Mission Impossible. Like, people like to latch on to things because they're cinematic and they're epic, but there's no evidence behind it. So what I'm asking for, guys, I'm just giving you examples because I know people are going to come out and say, well, he texted that he didn't want to support the Israel cause, and in fact, he was going to go against Israel from now on. Okay? That's not evidence. That would be motive. I feel like I have to give all these examples because people don't understand the difference between motive and evidence. And I think we've done a good enough job at this point. So all I'm asking for, guys, is one more time. I'm going to try to make this video a little shorter. Give me not the motive, not the coincidence, not the hearsay, not somebody said this about this, about this. What I want to hear is the actual mechanism, because the only mechanism that we have so far that's possible, according to all of our experiments and tests that we've done in this whole entire thing, and guys, this isn't because I believe the government, okay? I'm not saying, oh, I believe everything the government's telling you, believe everything they say. It's because it's the only thing that matches up with all the actual truth that we can prove. And it's not proving the government true. It's not proving the government right. I believe that they are still lying to us. I think there's a lot more people who are involved with this that they need to investigate and catch than they're leading on to. Maybe they are. Right? But I think the whole entire mechanism that they say was used is the only thing provable that's being used, meaning someone went on campus, went up to that roof, used a 30-06, took the shot from that location, and then got off. and escaped. Okay? That's the only mechanism that's possible at this point, according to all of our experiments. Now, are you telling me that it was someone else and not Tyler Robinson, or there was someone else possibly up there with Tyler Robinson at that same location? Okay, great. Who? How? That's what I want to know. And if you think it's from a different location, provide me evidence that it's from a different location. Don't just say, well, the government said it's from that location, therefore it has to be a different location. That's not evidence. That's just speculation. Okay? So what I want is hard evidence, meaning if you think it came from the computer science building, provide me evidence. Show me a video of somebody up there. Show me evidence of somebody up there. Show me the footprint. Show me the fingerprint. Show me the rifle casing that got left up there. Show me the confession of the person that was up there. Show me the video of that person leaving that building and running away. Show me the evidence of that person turning themselves in, for example, and giving the confession that they did that. Okay, right, that could be some sort of evidence. But until we have evidence purporting to the otherwise, I feel like this is the truth. What if I presented Tyler Robinson, 30-06, from that location? All the evidence shows it. All of our experiments show it. And if you have an alternate theory and you have the actual mechanism, what rifle did they use? What device did they use? From what location did they use it? Not, oh, it was Egypt, not, oh, that it was Israel, or all this random stuff. Get down to the actual micro level. How did they get on campus? Is there video of them getting on campus? Show me that video. Show me those fingerprints. Show me where it was. Show me the actual weapon that was used. Because so far we haven't heard any other alternative theory. Not one. We just hear who it was, but not how they did it. Tell me how they did it. Anyways, guys, let's move on to the conclusion. I think at this point, we know who it is. We know where it came from, and we know what was used. Provide me the alternative, and maybe I'll believe you if you have the evidence. But it has to be evidence, not hearsay, not circumstance, not motive. Let's go.
The cultural paradigm right now is a rebellion of the men of the West. It's happening in every major country, where young men are finding podcasts like ours. They're finding other information conduits that believe in nature, believe in God's design, believe that men should have to stand up for the vulnerable, create a family, provide for the family, have to protect the weak, to fight the battles of society, to go on an adventure. This is very appealing to young men when they hear it.
All right, guys, it's been about 3.5 months of hard work, dedication, investigation, sacrifice, a lot of time. Guys, this video is many, many, many hours of times sitting there researching, and just as much time editing, cutting clips, going out, doing the experiments. And I did this all for you and for myself to gain clarity, because in the beginning, guys, I was also having all kinds of questions. I went out and I actually did the experiments and took the time to do this for you and for the movement to hopefully bring clarity once and for all to what's actually happened. In the beginning of all of this, I mentioned that I had a method of closing all the doors, and let's go over some of the doors that I've closed, okay? We've closed the door on the idea that it was some kind of an exploding microphone. We now know that is impossible, not just from the experiment. The experiment proved that without a doubt, guys. If 150 joules knocks off that magnet, blows a hole through that shirt, blackens it, makes a whole explosion, a fireball in that shirt, I think we can reasonably say that 5,000 up to 3 million joules would definitely do more than that. The microphone would not be intact. It's impossible. But not only from that experiment, we can also tell from the sonic boom analysis, where the ring has to be at least around 140 yards away-ish, as well as all the timings of how long it takes around to reach a certain area. That has been debunked. Close the door. We don't ever have to look at the exploded microphone ever again. The same principle also applies to palm guns, someone up really close, really closing the door on anything up to like around 200 feet away. And really, guys, it's even up to 200 feet, even though it's somewhat possible, really we have to be around 400 feet away to really make this at least realistic and really possible. It's also a sonic boom capable round, which means it has to be faster than the speed of sound. And using our charts, using the sonic boom ring, it really has to be in that 400 to like 450 foot range, around 140 yards. Okay, so we can close the door on anything closer than that. Case closed on that one. I think using some logic, we can also close the door on it being like French Legion, Israeli secret soldiers, and TPUSA. I think we can reasonably say it's definitely not any of those. Can we prove it? No. Because not only do we have these doors closing, we also have other evidence that supports better, much more intact, much more reasonable theories that aren't space aliens from the top of Mount Timpanogos and all these bizarre things that people want to believe because they want to make it some cinematic, epic movie type thing because their mind can't just comprehend that it was some dweeb that hates freedom and freedom of speech, and also that it was probably a conspiration of others who are the same.
And guys, we can pretty much disprove this using not just logic and not just common sense, which I think we can, just using those two. But as we learned earlier, motive is not evidence. And so no matter how awesome or how great the motive sounds like for Israel to be the one that was behind it, or how great the motive would have been for TPUSA for whatever reason you guys think that is, or how amazingly epic and cinematic the motive would have been for the French Legion to parachute off of Mount Timpanogos, land on a secret building, put a crazy drone up in the air, like no matter how much their motive would have been to do all those things, there's absolutely no evidence. Okay, as we know, as we have talked about, motive is not evidence. And so therefore, even if someone can prove that they had the greatest motive of all time to do this, if they can't show any evidence that they actually did it, then that theory is mute and void and pointless unless you can find evidence. If you guys have somebody has great motive, go find the evidence and present them evidence. Do not present any more motives until you can find the evidence. Okay, that's super important, because if you're going to say that motive is absolute proof and motive is absolute evidence that someone did this, you also have to extrapolate that and say, well, every time someone's parent dies, it's automatically one of the sons or daughters that did it because their inheritance was the motive that they did it, you know? So you pretty much have to, you know, next time somebody around the corner dies, you run to the police department and claim to know who did it because, you know, obviously it was their son because he's going to get something out of the will. That's the best motive of all time.
All right, guys, now that we've closed a bunch of doors, what theories remain that are possible? And what is the most likely one? I think we can see from all the experiments that we did in this video that not only can you tell where a round comes from or where a sound comes from in an amphitheater, like all of the people in that amphitheater, like 99% of them look right in that direction, because I had like 4 or 5 friends there and all of them said the same thing right from that direction. We can reasonably conclude they're not lying to us, their reactions aren't lying to us, and the videos are not lying to us. They all look right in that same direction, or at least most of them do. Okay, we can conclude from that, plus the sonic boom analysis, that ring that can only be on that certain location concludes, and they all intersect on that roof. That concludes that the shot came from that roof, as well as the rings from the timings of the rounds of how long it takes a round to go from one spot to another spot. We can conclude from all that information that it did come from that rooftop. That's a possibility. The rings all intersect there. That's where everyone looked. That's where the shot came from. We now know a little bit more about crime scene investigations. We now know that that crime scene is not some crazy 20-day, 20-year, 50-year investigation that needs to take place. It's probably one of the simplest crime scenes that any police officer that has worked a crime scene or any detective has worked on in their entire history. Literally, guys, there was nothing at that crime scene. And there was an officer that me and Stephen Gardner talked to, as well as Gary from Paramount Tactical and Gray Hughes Investigates. That officer went through some certain things with us that he didn't really want to disclose, so we're not going to go into those details. But let me just tell you guys, they did do a very thorough investigation. They used various technologies. They spent a lot more time than necessary on that crime scene. When you have something that takes place from far away, and there's not a bunch of stuff right at that spot, it doesn't take 50 years or 5 weeks or 10 weeks or 3 months or however many times you think it would take to go over that crime scene. We went over this in detail. You now know what a crime scene investigation looks like. After they've picked up everything, after they've taken all the photos and done all the processing, what else is there to do? They can't just sit there waiting for something else to happen. It's already over, right? So we now know, and guys, even the one that we did, even that fake one was pretty complicated. And even that one would only take a few hours to probably process and then give it back to the owner to do whatever they wanted with it. Just like they did at UVU, and UVU decided, hey, this is probably something we should probably change a little bit so that people can move on, get back to class, etc. We now know a little bit more about that, and we can conclude that that's not something super abnormal, and it's not, guys. It's not something super abnormal. That is normal. Okay. Because the other thing we also know now is that not only was it not like some crazy 1 in 5 bazillion things that the 30-06 could hit and stay in the body. We now know that not only is it likely, but actually most likely, especially if it was at an angle. We've seen all the studies, all of the case reports, all the forensics reports, all of the hunters talking about it. I think we can reasonably say that it's the 30-06, and we also can say that it was most likely Tyler Robinson. Why? Not only do we have all of his chats from before the incident, talking about Charlie and how he spreads hate and how he wanted to take him out and all this other stuff, we also have the confession to his roommate, to his mom, to his dad, to the person who helped turn him in. We have him turning himself in. And while that's not legally a confession, guys, that's not legally a confession. You don't turn yourself in for nothing, right? And the fact that his parents aren't coming out and screaming it from the rooftops that he's innocent and that they lied about it and everything, I think we can reasonably conclude that it is Tyler Robinson, okay? Just from that. Because not only do we have all these confessions, we also have him on video going into UVU once, scouting it out, then going in and committing the incident. Guys, they have that video. They have the video of him taking the shot. It's in the charging documents. They have that. Maybe they'll release that during court or after the court. Who knows? But they do have that, okay? Then they have him running off the roof. They have him going into the wooded area and putting the rifle there. They have that all on video. Okay, so we have all the confessions. We have all the video. Not only that, they have also all of the fingerprints on the roof, the footprints in the grass, the DNA all over, and his fingerprints all over that screwdriver, all over the rifle, all over the casings, all over the remaining rounds. Guys, any of those four things by themselves in most crimes would be enough to convict pretty much anybody. The video of them doing it, their fingerprints, their DNA, and then all the confessions would be enough pretty much, at least those first three. The confessions, those can be a little bit shaky sometimes, and people do make false claims of things that they've done for fame and whatnot. But guys, if you combine all four of those together, it's pretty much guaranteed. And any one of those first three is almost a guaranteed conviction just on those three things. But guys, not only do we have that, we have everything combined. We have everything else combined. The location, everything. I think this is a solid case. I don't think we can go off onto all these conspiracies. I don't think there's anything fishy about this. I think after all we've learned in this whole entire investigation, what we're being told, even though it was fishy in the beginning, now that they have the person, the investigation, I think, is ongoing. And I think what we're going to find out is just what I speculated in the beginning. The real conspiracy here is not all these Egyptian planes and foreign legions and TPUSA and all these people. I think we can totally exonerate all of those people off of this guy. I don't think, I don't see any evidence pointing to Erica Kirk. I don't see any evidence pointing to TPUSA. I don't see any evidence pointing to Israel, Egypt, all this stuff. We hear a bunch of motive, but we have heard no evidence. Well, I think we're going to see in the next few months, or maybe a couple of years, depending on how long this trial takes and how long their investigation takes, we're definitely going to see more about outside collaborators. You guys, what else can I really say about this? I don't really know. It's no matter how much you look into this, it's hard because we don't have all the information. We don't have the tools. I don't have the tools to do this. I just hope that the FBI and the police and everyone else is doing their jobs correctly, because guys, we do know that people knew about this before it was going to happen. And I think that's where the real conspiracy lies. And I think that if people who have more resources than I do, like Candace Owens, it would be awesome if they would turn their focus and laser beam it right on these people who knew about it. Okay. And if the FBI are not investigating, using their power, using their responsibility, using their influence, we could force the FBI to actually look into them. Maybe they're not in on it. I don't know. Maybe they have nothing to do with it. I don't know. But it should be at least investigated. And then if it's not being, these people who are claiming to care and claiming to be the investigators, because there's no investigation going on, should try to influence that side of things. I think at this point, the people who did this, the real people who did this, have earned their goal. They have gotten what they've wanted. You go look at AmFest, it was a train wreck of speaker after speaker just screaming at the other speakers before them that we should censor certain people. Other ones saying that we shouldn't censor other people. Like, it was just a mess of ununity, infighting within the cause. And it's the exact thing that's happening that I predicted in my introduction to this video that I made just a few weeks before AmFest. So where do we go from here? Like I said, guys, we need to investigate. We need to encourage those people who have the power, have the influence. Clearly, I don't have that influence, guys, but we need to influence them to actually produce good investigations that provide facts, evidence, and can actually influence those at the top to push things forward.
But some people say, Charlie, Jesus wasn't political, okay? Jesus, he never really liked politics. I just do the gospel. I do evangelism. I don't care about what happens politically. Now, I talked about how the church could be closed down, but I asked a question. Can anyone tell me in these 66 books of the Bible, the Word of God, can anyone find an example in Scripture where God encourages us to ignore what's happening in the world around us? Can anyone find a scripture where Jesus told us to retreat from the evil? He tells us to lean into it and to be not afraid. You see, in a time when you look at the odds against you, is it the time to go just kind of cower and act as if you have nothing to say? Or is it that we now have the Word of God and we have the wind at our back and we have momentum and we're going to do more than ever before?
All right, guys, so where do we go from here? What can be done? I think there's three things that are most important, and they're short-term, medium-term, and long-term. And I think this is important because the place that we are in society right now is we're almost hanging off a cliff. The Overton window has been shifted so far to the left for decades and decades by dedicated communists and left-wing lunatics that we're pretty much hanging off a cliff where they're about to win their goal. We're in a place in society right now where a lot of people have woken up, in large parts to people like Charlie Kirk, because Charlie Kirk has done the job that fathers should be doing and inspiring young men to realize that it's not evil to be a man. It's not evil to be the person that you are. It's not evil to be the culture that you are. And it's not evil to be who you want to be and to be a good moral person and to stand for something. Okay. That is something that the communists have been trying to erase for decades. Any sense of morality, any sense of identity, any sense of anything, right? And we're at a turning point right now, ironically, to where we can actually take back things and win, and that is why they did what they did. Okay, so what can we do about it? One of the fastest ways we can get things changed is by getting this information to really influential podcasters, people who have a lot more subscribers than I do. Guys, this is a brand new channel. I hope you guys subscribe. I hope you like it. I hope you share it. But I'm a new channel, guys. I don't have the influence to go out there and to influence the higher-ups or the FBI to really force them to investigate anything. But if we can get this to higher-viewed podcasters and stuff, maybe we can spread this message and get it to places where the information that we've discovered in this video can actually influence things and get things changed and get things investigated, guys. I think the FBI is probably investigating all these people. We've seen that Lance Twiggs has disappeared. I'm pretty sure they have him in custody. They're probably using him as an informant on all these people in the chats. We know that he was in chats, these same chats, and that Tyler Robinson was in the same chats as all these people that knew about this, at least some of them. So there is some kind of a connection there. People did know about this, guys. And I hope that they're investigating that. But if we could get this to bigger podcasters that could actually help influence that and point them in that direction and hold them accountable to actually investigate for sure, that would be a great thing. So whether that's people like Theo Vaughn or people even as high up as like Joe Rogan, just guys, if you have contacts, get this up to people who have contacts or those contacts themselves. Get this to people like that who can use this information. I don't care if they splice it up. I don't care if they cut it into little pieces and share it and share the information that we've learned from these experiments. I don't care. As long as the truth gets out there, I think that's one of the fastest ways to get the truth out there is to get bigger influencers in on this. I think that's one of the fastest ways. The second way, guys, is in your communities. And guys, I'm tired of people sitting on their couches complaining, saying, oh, I'm not going to even vote because the government is all rigged against me anyways, and that we're owned by foreign governments, and that it doesn't matter what we do, the president's going to do whatever he's going to do, and the Congress is going to do whatever we do, and the people are always going to suffer. While that is somewhat true, the reason why it's true is because men have become weak. Okay, and we're going to get into something in here in a second that can fix this. But men have become weak, and they'd rather sit on the couch watching football games, watching basketball games, drinking their beers, sitting there complaining that they're going to get the short end of the stick, when in reality, guys, your local government has the most power to influence your life, has the most effect on your life, and the children that get raised in your community are the future. And if you let the children become tenants of the school, tenants of the state, and let the school brainwash them into being future communists and future left-wing crazy people, then that is your fault. Okay? You can't sit there and complain that the government's never going to do anything for you if you're not willing to step up and do something, okay? And there's several things you can do, okay? First of all, go join the school board. Kick off some crazy person that wants to put books of, the bad kind of content that I'm talking about and allow all this crazy stuff into the schools, identity politics and all these, you know, things that say your kid could be a certain thing even if they aren't, go join the school board and start influencing your community that way. The second thing you can do, go join the city council. The third thing, you can become a teacher. If you don't have time to become a full-time teacher, you can become a substitute teacher and start doing something for your community and start changing things in your community. Because guys, no one's going to do this for you. Nobody. And the only way to change the future is to change the children and to influence the children in such a way where they have a lasting effect and we can move this window further and further in the right direction, the Overton window, to what is acceptable matches up more with the truth. Because right now, guys, the truth is way over here, and what is acceptable is way over here. And we need to do that by influencing society over time, and it will take time. It's not going to be overnight, okay? The third thing you can do is, no matter how old you are, start a YouTube channel, start sharing your own information, start sharing your own thoughts, start sharing your own beliefs. Let people out there know that you believe what you believe and you're not ashamed of it, and you are going to do your best to share that and spread that everywhere. Become an inspiration to people, share the truth. Even by sharing 1 or 2 videos, you're pretty much telling the system, I don't care what you say, I'm sharing the truth and I'm not afraid and I'm not apologetic and I'm unashamed. Okay, that is very important, because the more you do that, more and more people see that, and then more and more people will do the same. And that's what we need, guys. We need a revolution. We need an uprising of the truth. We need an uprising of those who are unafraid to share the truth. And we need an uprising of truth seekers, truth sharers, and people who bring light to the darkness. For too long, people have sat in the shadows, afraid to be criticized, afraid to be ostracized, afraid to be canceled for just saying things that were normal for every human being 20 years ago. Guys, it's just insane. If we brought Bill Clinton from 20 years ago and ran him against Kamala Harris, they'd be accusing him of the same thing that Trump is. Like, they pretty much have the exact same policies, like, which is kind of sad, right? And people think that Donald Trump is some far right-wing lunatic. Guys, Donald Trump is basically a Democrat from the 1990s. Like, that's where we're at. We're at the point where things have shifted so far this way that Donald Trump is called a right-wing lunatic when he's basically Bill Clinton in the 90s. Go watch their speeches. Go watch Bill Clinton's speeches from the 90s about the border, about the economy, about tariffs. They're the exact same person. Not that I'm a fan of Bill Clinton by any means, but I'm not. But you get what I'm saying, okay? By influencing the future generations of children, by getting online. And guys, if you're too afraid to actually, get on camera and speak in a certain way or whatever and tell people your thoughts and whatnot, just share content. Share everything that is true. Share things that are good. Don't be afraid to share a clip of Charlie Kirk talking about family and a marriage and about Jesus Christ. Don't be ashamed of that. Be proud of it. Go throw as much content up there, share it everywhere. And by doing that, everyone else hopefully will have the courage and be inspired by you just doing that to start sharing good things around the world, and not just in the United States, but the world overall. Maybe we can make the whole world a better place. All right, guys, so that is like a medium-term solution. The third way, guys, is probably the most important and the most influential. And guys, this is what created Charlie Kirk in the first place. The world has been emptied of strong men. We had like World War I, and then we had World War II, and then we had the Korean War, and then we have had war after war after war. And guys, a lot of the strong men did not make it back. A lot of brave men did make it back, but guys, the bravest of them all did not make it back. That's just a fact.
Guys, one of the biggest conspiracies that I believe in is that our country gets in some of these wars and some of these things on purpose, so they have an excuse to ship the best men and women that we have overseas to fight wars for rich oligarchs, and for no reason other than to cull the best men in our society and hope to get rid of them so that we're left with the weakest men. That way, the evil men, the wolves and the sheep, can come in and can take control of society and urge it towards communism and tyranny without the strong men that would have been here to resist. This isn't nothing against the military. I think the military has some of the best people. This is actually a compliment to the military. I just think that they use it as a mechanism to get rid of some of the best men and women that we have, when if they had survived and had grown up and raised children of their own, the population of freedom lovers and freedom fighters on our own soil would be much higher than it is than when we send them over to foreign places. Anyways, that's a topic for another day.
And guys, the amount of weak men that have been raising the new men is the reason why Charlie Kirk and other men like him are even possible, even necessary, and it's what formed these men to be what they were in the first place, to be role models for children that their own fathers should have been. There never should have been a need for a Charlie Kirk. There should never have been a need for Michael Knowles or Steven Crowder to go out there and do what they're doing on college campuses. There should never have been a need. Their own fathers have failed them, and our fathers have failed us. And guys, there are good fathers out there, and there are good grandfathers out there. I'm not saying that all men are weak, okay? I know I've had a great upbringing. I know many people who've had a great upbringing from great fathers. But there are enough weak men out there that have been so weak that it was necessary for Charlie Kirk to go to a college campus and say, hey, this isn't right. This is the truth. And it was working. It was working. It was changing society. He was bringing so many young men to the right cause, to the truth, to liberty, to the message of freedom, to Christianity even, that the other side had to take him out because he was having that big of an influence. But like I said, guys, that influence should never have had to be an influence. These people's own fathers should have been a good enough role models that they never went off the deep end and started thinking that they could be whatever they were going to be, or started thinking other immoral adventures were the correct purpose of life. Their own fathers should have been good enough, okay? And that's what made Charlie Kirk so awesome, and these other people so awesome, is they're willing to actually go out there and not for us. I mean, it is for us as well. Their messages are inspirational for us, for sure, if you're already on the right side. But they were going to the other side, putting themselves in that position to bring people to the truth when they don't even have to. And that's what's so admirable about these people, is that they're so strong and they care enough about society to put their own lives on the risk and to sacrifice their lives, like Charlie Kirk did, to help bring not us to the truth, but the other side, who spits on them, mocks them. And we see them doing the same thing to Erica Kirk and TPUSA right now. Even people on our own side are being tricked by this other side into doing the same thing that they do to our own. And Charlie Kirk and these other people go out there and they care enough about these other people to risk their lives to help bring them to the truth. All right, guys, not only did the older generation of men create weaker men by not teaching them correct principles and guiding them through life when they should have been inspirations to them, but instead let them do whatever they wanted and were lax and complacent. They've also let down the newer generations of men by letting society go as a whole completely. Guys, things that are happening right now should never be happening, especially with the freedom of speech. And if we look at the founding fathers, guys, we see what they did is they gave us the First Amendment first for a reason. And I think that the founding fathers, they knew something. And what they knew was that in a place where there's a marketplace of free ideas, where anybody can say whatever they want and they're not restricted and not controlled. It's like in Game of Thrones, like when they say, like, you know, if they tear out your tongue, it doesn't prove that they're right or prove that you're wrong. It just means that they're afraid of what you might say. Because even the other side knows if you say the right things and if you say the true things, they will lose. And I think the founding fathers knew this, and they put that in as the First Amendment. Not the second, not the third, not the fourth. They put that one in as the first, and then there's the reason they put the second one in as the second as well, right? But I think that the British were probably imposing and censoring them just like we have seen recently, in recent years, the conservative side being censored, and they realized... Because, guys, what did the revolution tell you? Like 9-10% of the population or something? The founding fathers, in secret, with good ideas, were able to rally just like 10% of the population. And they realized if they gave the freedom of speech to the whole entire population, that it would be unstoppable. Okay. Unfortunately, the forces of darkness have been able to creep in and take over freedom of speech, censor the right ideas, censor good ideas, and impose bad ideas at the end of a gun because of the older generations of men who are too afraid, I think, to offend people, too afraid to stand up for what was right. They didn't want to be offensive. They didn't want to be mean. They didn't want to do all this stuff. Okay. So now, unfortunately, we are where we are at. And the truth is, guys, is that these older generations of men should never have allowed any of this stuff to happen. They never should have allowed freedom of speech to be censored. They should never have allowed the communists to enter our schools and to take our children's minds. They should never have allowed woke politics and identity politics into the schools. They never should have allowed schools to censor the conservative speech. It should never have been necessary for Elon Musk to buy Twitter for the good ideas to finally have a root again. And it never should have been a thing where Charlie Kirk had to go around doing what he did. Luckily, we have people like Charlie Kirk and Elon Musk who are powerful enough and strong enough to buy Twitter, give the right side a platform of free speech. And guys, what have we seen since Elon Musk took Twitter? The good ideas are winning again, okay? There's a lot of bad stuff on Twitter too. But guys, that's the point of a free marketplace of ideas. The good ideas will always win. Bad ideas can only win when they're the only choice or if they're the ones that are forced at the end of a gun. And guys, this is why you see masculinity influencers completely bashed on all the time in the news, in communist circles, in social media. They're called things like misogynists and bigots and racists and homophobes and all this crazy stuff, when all they're really saying is take responsibility, get married, have a family, be a good father. The reason these people are so bashed, and I'm not saying that there's and I'm not saying, guys, that there aren't people who are all of those things, but it's gotten to the point where by saying be a good father, take responsibility, be a strong man, that people are accusing you of those things falsely. And the reason that is because the communists know if strong men rise again in this country, they will lose forever. So what do we do with this, guys? We need to become better men. We need to become such better men that Charlie Kirks and Michael Knowles and Steven Crowders, and I could name 10 other ones, are never even necessary. Because they shouldn't have been. That should never have been necessary. You should be able to send your kid off to college and not worry that they're going to come back thinking that they're a raccoon. You should be able to send your kid off to college and they come back a scientist, and they come back a doctor, they come back a world-renowned dentist or a surgeon or something. Scientist, whatever, scholar. You shouldn't have to worry about sending them off to college and they come back thinking that you're evil and that you should donate all your money to PETA or Planned Parenthood or something stupid, right? That should never have been a thing in the first place. And guys, this is why the most long-term solution to this whole problem is that you need to teach your own children and do such a good job that no matter what college they go off to, no matter what elementary school they go off to, no matter what high school they go off to, they know the truth, and they are so well taught it that they are not touchable by the evil, by the darkness of this world. I have a couple recommendations, okay? I think every single person would become a better man, better woman, better mother, a better father, if they were to listen to just a few of these people on this list. There's many more, guys. This is just the people that I really like to listen to and really admire, and I think that they have things really correct when it comes to politics, morality, and just things as a whole. But everyone should listen to like Jesse Kelly, Dad Saves America, Michael Knowles, Steven Crowder, and last but not least, our Lord Jesus Christ. I think if everyone was to follow these people's examples, especially the last one, and not the weak, wimpy version that the world tries to push out that this person was, but the brave, steadfast warrior version that this person came to earth to be. Guys, remember, a sword to divide, not a peacemaker. And the reason why you divide is the truth. The truth divides the good from evil, the light from the darkness. Everything that is good has an opposite, and you should not be ashamed to stand on the side of good. You should never tolerate evil just because you're afraid you're going to offend somebody. You need to stand tall, stand brave, become a better man, do your best to inspire the younger generation, and by doing all three of these things, guys, joining your school board, joining your city council, helping to raise your own kids, but also inspiring other children in your community to the right side, we can stop what is happening, stop this movement that has been so evil and marching on us decade after decade. We ourselves need to become stronger men, and if we can inspire our own children just as much as Charlie Kirk did to other children that did not have strong fathers, we can move this over to the window from where it's not falling off the edge, but to where it's matching up with where truth actually is, where the right side actually is, and the light actually is. And that's how we do things long term. Guys, just real quick, I had a couple more suggestions that are actually really useful. If you live in a blue state, perhaps one of the fastest ways to change things is to move out of that blue state, move into a red state. And by doing this, you're going to get the population numbers up. We're going to get more electoral votes. We're going to get more representatives. All these kinds of things can be affected by that. But not only that, guys, your kids are going to be safer. You're going to be safer. And it's just a way good thing to do, just to get out of these garbage places, remove the power from your population, and move to a place where your voice actually matters and counts. Okay, by doing this, like I said, we remove the electoral votes from these places, add them to these places, and get more representation. Because right now, I guarantee where you live, I used to live in California, guys, probably the worst garbage can place to ever live. Beautiful place, but it's been absolutely ruined. And it's like 40% conservative. Can you imagine if all 40% of those conservatives moved out and went to Texas and Florida and I would say Utah? But for some reason, the voters here in Utah vote for people like Governor Cox and John Curtis, who are basically Democrats in sheep's clothing. And this is why I say that the sheep are more dangerous than the wolves, because these people think these people are conservatives, but they do everything that the liberals want them to do. So therefore, they're not. It's terrible. Utah's a great state, but the leadership and everything, I don't know how they get elected. Okay. And that's where the second thing comes in, is make sure you go vote, guys. Go vote in your local elections. They're much more important than national elections. But what we see in the statistics is, unless there's somebody running nationally that people are super excited about, for example, like when Trump's running, voter turnout for conservatives is huge. However, when Trump's not on the ballot, nobody even shows up. And this is one difference between the conservatives and the communists, is the communists will crawl over broken glass to go vote. And the conservatives are like, my local election doesn't mean anything. I'm only going to vote when the president's up for grabs. And it's the dumbest thing possible, because your local elections are what's going to affect your kids, what's going to affect your local community, and all this other stuff way more than who's the president. So guys, get out there and vote in every single local election. And then guys, just two more things. Consider donating to organizations like TPUSA if you can, if you have the extra funds, because guys, these guys need your help, especially right now when they're under attack. Support TPUSA. Whether that's donating to them or going on their website. I actually bought a couple things, but apparently demand is so high, which is awesome. I'm really glad that demand is so high. Apparently the stuff I ordered won't get here for like 11 to 12 weeks, but I'm glad that it's overbooked. I'm glad my stuff's taking 12 weeks, because that means that they're getting the support right now, right? That's awesome. And then another thing I think everybody could do is, if you have some sort of a talent, if you have something that you've been planning to do, if you have something that's been on your mind and you've been working on, maybe it's like a YouTube channel, a podcast, a book. For example, I have a book that I've been really slacking off on. I've been working on it for like 12 years now, actually. And it's like this crazy, awesome book. It's a liberal dystopia where the liberals and the communists have gotten everything they've ever wanted, and society's basically on the verge of collapse, like it would be if they did get what they wanted. Anyways, I'm not gonna go into the whole plot, but basically, like, I've been really slacking off on this, and because of what happened to Charlie Kirk, I've been really inspired to start working on that again, and I've actually been writing and working on that again. Guys, use this as motivation. Use what they have done to you and us and Charlie Kirk and the country as a whole. Use it as motivation and inspiration to get out there. And if you have some kind of a talent, whether it's writing, singing, making videos, podcasting, whatever it is, use it for good. Use it to bring others to the light and to motivate and to inspire other people. Okay. But guys, right now, the most important thing is we need to come together and unite, because if we don't, we are about to be swallowed by the darkest darkness we've ever seen in our entire lives. The other side did this to Charlie Kirk. They did this to us. They did this to you. And if you need to watch the video of what happened to him every morning, every week, however long it takes, to get that anger back and focus that anger in a righteous cause, to make sure that that never happens again, to make sure that they don't win. You're going to let that happen, and you're going to let them win. You're going to let that happen, and you're going to just blame everyone else instead of the actual cause, what caused it. They took out one of the best people of our generation, and you're going to go blame Israel. You're going to go blame French Legion. You're going to go blame TPUSA. You're going to go blame the Republican Party, when the people who did this to you are standing right there on the other side of the river laughing at you, putting all these conspiracies in your head. And if we do not see the truth and awaken others to the truth, they're going to win. And in 2 years from now, you're going to lose power, and you're never going to get it back again. Right now is the time to stand up. Right now, we actually have a chance. They were losing. They were losing so bad that they had to do this. And guys, that's why it's so important right now. We need to unite. We need to message everyone this video as well as other truths. I don't care if I get famous. I don't care if this channel gets 1 million subscribers. I'm not monetized. I have 0 subscribers on this channel at the time of making this video. I'm not in this to grift. I'm not in this for that reason. I'm in this to help you, to help save you, to help save us. I don't want to live underneath a tyrannical government. I don't want your children to live underneath a tyrannical government. And I think right now is the time we need to stand up, unite on our side. I'm not saying unite with these evil people on here on the other side that did this. They're the ones that did this. And people are not seeing it. And it makes me so angry, and I'm getting a little bit angry right now because the truth is right in front of us, and I think I've helped expose this. Now it's your chance and your opportunity to take the information that I've given you in this video and to go out there, spread the truth, because the enemy is not across the ocean. The enemy is across the street. And I'm not saying... And what I'm not saying is we should go conquer them with like a sword or something stupid like that. Charlie Kirk went and he conquered them with the truth. And he brought the enemy to our side. And many of the prior enemy that were enemies of light are now friends of light. And the only way to conquer this, guys, is to spread this message and do those 3 things, guys, like I just mentioned. Influence your community. Influence the children in your community. Be a better father, be a mother, raise your own children so that in 20 years, this mentality that creates this enemy, the mentality of tyranny, the mentality of being like a mind virus, of just doing whatever you're told and never to question anything, the enemy of light, just the darkness that just swallows everything, the laziness, the ones that just want the government to take care of them all, communism, socialism. If we raise enough children to be warriors of the light and of truth, these people won't even exist anymore because they'll have all been converted to the right side. And that's the only and best solution that we have right now. If we keep doing what we're doing right now, we're headed to a very, very dangerous and dark place. And eventually there's only going to be one solution. And hopefully it never comes to something like that. And by doing and following truth and spreading this message and becoming an influence in your community, we can stop that. We can move to a bright, happy place. And we can solve all of these issues. And that's why this video, guys, is not just about the Charlie Kirk incident. This video is about society as a whole and moving us in the right direction where we can hopefully become closer to the truth together as a whole. Put a stop to these crazy things that aren't the truth. Focus on where we need to be focused. And let's go, guys. Remember, you are the only ones that can do this. Remember, it's your responsibility. Remember that no one else is going to do this for you. No one else is coming to save you. And remember, the sheep are always more dangerous than the wolves.
The worst thing we could do for Charlie's legacy, the worst thing we could do at all, is to quit, is to surrender, is to let the left win, the violent left that took Charlie away from us.
All right, guys, I would also like to thank everyone who made this video possible and all of the new friends and people I met along the way, whether that is Paramount Tactical, Diligent Dennison, among many others. I really appreciate the hard work you guys are all doing on this, getting out there, doing the research, doing the hard work to get to the bottom and the truth of everything. I would also like to thank everyone else who came out and participated, whether that was you participating in the experiments themselves, helping me do them, and all of you guys who came out and let me use your rifles and your other guns. It made a huge difference in making these tests and experiments much more accurate, much more precise, and I couldn't have done this without you guys and without the use of those tools. Unfortunately, I could never find anyone who had a 30-06. That was just a bummer. I think I came very close to that 308 and that ammunition that I used with the 308. If you have a 30-06 and you want to go out to 144 and 148 yards and do that shot and record it with a high-quality microphone, that'd be awesome. Go do it. Go do the test and compare. Or send it to me. That'd be awesome. Also, guys, to all the citizens of the United States that are dedicated to freedom and truth and the fight against tyranny, Stay with it. Stay awake. Stay aware. Awaken your friends. Share them this video. Share them other videos that show truth, and to help people become better cognitively, as well as become better investigators and truth seekers. And guys, thanks to all the other investigators that are out there doing a good job, whether or not I agree with you or not. Thanks for being out there. Thanks for following your heart, following your mind, helping the United States and the world become a better place, become more free, become more critical thinking. And guys, stay safe out there. And again, I'll say it one more time, the sheep are always more dangerous than the wolves. See you guys later.
In the ashes of a broken land, where the truth was buried in chains, there he wrote the names of heroes and taught us silence was right. Fathers fell for forgotten words, mothers bled for tyrants' lies, but the fire never left our bones, it just learned how to hide. They said the past was dangerous, that hope was treason too. Try to burn, let it tear the dark apart. Freedom isn't something given, it's earned with the bravery of still hearts. We are more than what they told us, more than fear, more than just a name. We will stand where legends once stood and remind them who we are. They built their walls from obedience, their thrones from quiet shame. Turn brothers into numbers, turn justice into a game. But somewhere in the mountains, under stone and ancient flame, the old words waited patiently for someone brave to speak their name. Not for power, not for crown, for vengeance or pride, but for the right to choose our fate and the courage to decide. But then they took a hero, they tried to send a message to silence me and you, afraid he would light the flame and our fight would never they try to burn, let it tear the dark apart. Freedom isn't something given, it's earned by those who don't return. We are more than what they told us, more than fear, more than dirt. We will stand where legends fell before and remind them who we are. If we fall, then let it matter. Let the ground remember why, that once there lived a people who refused to kneel or die. Tell our story to the children, let it echo through the years. That liberty was never free, but it was worth the tears. Raise the truth like thunder, let it roll from shore to shore. They can cage the voice of one of us, but not the million more. We are the sons and daughters of the oath they couldn't erase. We will stand wrapped in liberty's flag and take back our rightful place. The sheep will fall, the wolves will bleed, the patriots stand on the tyrant's neck. Their lies burn to ashes, and when the night is finished and the lie has lost its breath, they'll remember freedom lived because someone because their last breath was for you.